It's 5:59. Weren't you watching that game? What are you doing up so early? It's the Superbook Sports Desk, and I'm Robert Walsh. The Titans gave a spirited effort last night, but in the end, it wasn't enough to take down the Cowboys as the Cowboys pull it down 27-13 to win. The Titans weren't without bright spots, though. Kevin Byard pulled down 2 interceptions, making him the franchise leader in interceptions with 27. Also, Josh Dobbs, in his first career start, went 20 for 39, 232, 1 interception, but also this touchdown. Titans moved to 7-9, but next week is for all the marbles. But also in the loss, Titans safety Andrew Adams suffered a torn patella. Adams has started 10 of 12 games for the Titans, amassing 60 tackles and 1 interception that was returned for a touchdown. Bowl season, Pinstripe Bowl, Minnesota beat Syracuse 28-20. Cheez-It Bowl, Florida State beat Oklahoma 35-32. And in the Alamo fell to Texas. Washington beat Texas 27-20. In the NBA, Grizzlies beat the Raptors 119-106. John Morant had 19 points and a career-high 17 assists. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Now to Ramon Kayla Will with no Ramon, no Will, but we get Keith Bulluck, so it's an even trade. Here on your home for the Titans and the Vols, this is 104.5 The Zone.
It is Friday, the last Friday of the year, so we're going to act like it and react to what happened last night, Thursday night football on the banks of the Cumberland River at Nissan Stadium. The Dallas Cowboys getting the victory over the Tennessee Titans 27-13. Good morning to you. 6:02 in America's Music City. I'm Jonathan Schaefer in for Will Bolling. To my left, he is a Titans legend, Mr. Monday Night, Keith Bulluck. To my right, she puts the big J in journalism, and she is the boss in all capital letters.
Woo.
She is Kayla Anderson. Good morning, my fine people who all need to be caffeinated with Celsius and coffee this morning.
I know, right? You go around the room, it's like Celsius tea, coffee.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes, sir. I need the, for the voice, so I'm
Right?
nice and crisp. But yeah, and I'm more of a tea drinker than coffee drinker. But yeah, good morning, all.
Yeah.
You guys had a late night?
A really late night.
Yeah, Kayla doesn't even remember when she went to bed. That's how late of a night it was.
I really don't. I walked out of the house and I go, I swear I was just walking in the house.
Yeah. You know what? I mean, at least it feels good to have a late night and to wake up not hungover.
There is the bright spot out of it all, right?
It's ooh, maybe 15, 20 years ago, I'd be trying to
Yes.
shake one off and fake it.
You're right.
I'll say this, 4 a.m. never came sooner than it did today.
I
That
know.
is
I know
for
for
dang
sure.
sure. But you do not need to hear about us complaining and whining of our plight, which was watching the Titans yesterday. And Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. When trust matters, count on All Four Seasons Garage Doors in Nashville. Professional garage door installation and repair from a locally owned and family-run business. Visit allfourseasonsgarages.com/Nashville. All guests courtesy of the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline. We are live on Zone TV in amazing color. YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. Follow us on Twitter at Ramon Kayla Will. Cowboys 27, Titans 13, and making his first career start and being a Titan for barely over a week, just 8 days. VFL Josh Dobbs went 20 of 39, 232 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, also had 3 carries for 12 yards. Did have 3 pass plays of 30 or more yards, so some good chunk plays last night for the Titans. But Keith, Kayla, no one could have asked more or expected more from Josh Dobbs under the circumstances he was playing under last night.
Yeah, I'm happy for him. It was I felt kind of slighted yesterday. We sat here, got up 5 a.m, sat here from 6 to 10. Then like at 11 something, I just happened to be back in my car, and I hear Buck talking about Josh Dobbs starting.
Yeah.
And I was like, dang, really? We just did all that talking about Malik and Josh Dobbs gets out there, but I thought it was great. I didn't know what was going to happen, just like anyone else. When you have been in the NFL for 6 years and you've only attempted 17 passing plays, it just kind of makes you wonder why you've only attempted 17 passing plays. And, there's a reason you're in the league for 6 years. You're still in the NFL with only having 17 pass attempts
Right.
and no starts under your belt. But when you break it down, and just to be real quick, and I'll throw it to you, Kayla, Josh Dobbs did everything that we sat here and said we wanted to see out of Malik yesterday.
Yes.
Get the team in and out of the huddle, show command of the offense, make quick decisions, know where to go with the ball. If you're going to make the decision to run. If you're going to pass, know where to go. Go through your progressions. And although Josh Dobbs hasn't had a lot of playing time in the NFL, he shows that. And it was funny because when you always hear with me, I always hear about Josh Dobbs. They keep talking about how smart he is.
Yeah.
He's smart. Well, all that intellect
Yep.
of 6 years being in the classroom and just being on teams really showed yesterday. And that's what an NFL quarterback should look like.
Yeah, and look, I thought it was interesting. Josina Anderson put out something yesterday. Is she covered him a lot when he was with Cleveland, and she said, "I always thought this guy should have gotten a little bit more of a chance."
Right.
And I don't think she meant necessarily to be a starter, but just to have starting opportunities.
Right.
And he never has started a game. This was his first NFL touchdown. First ever.
Yeah.
Which is incredible that it came in the state where he played college football at Tennessee, and where his last start as a quarterback was in the Music City Bowl against Nebraska, which is phenomenal.
The last time he had thrown a touchdown.
Right. The storyline is incredible. But I think when it comes to Joshua Dobbs and what he did yesterday, you hit it right on the nail on the head. The decisiveness mixed with his athletic ability, which we saw, but even being able to get out of the pocket and still find a guy downfield. And you just felt after the first 3 or 4 plays, okay, you have a little faith in this guy to move the football, to move this offense down the field, which with Malik, it's just so inconsistent right now because he's so young. He's still learning a lot. Joshua Dobbs has just that veteran presence, and it showed yesterday, even though, again, he hasn't started an NFL game until yesterday.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, you can see, early in the game when he's coming up to the line, he's getting people lined up. He's like, no, he got Traylon Burks situated a couple times. Just those things. And, yeah, Malik, like you said, he, his curve he's not there yet. And, seeing Josh Dobbs, I think a lot of people that were saying, it's not fair to Malik. He needs the opportunity. Yeah, man, you need to put a product out there that, looks like last night.
Yeah.
With Josh Dobbs last night, the first Titans drive, they had a first down. Dobbs had rushed for another, but holding on Traylon Burks, drive stalled out, and we'll talk about the penalties throughout the show here this morning. Second Titans drive, a 3 and out. The second down pass a little bit in front of Austin Hooper. Third down pass a little high, but hit Robert Woods in the hands. Drops was another issue. Mm-hmm. But what I had underneath that second Titans drive on my notes, Josh Dobbs should start versus Jacksonville.
Yeah.
2 drives into the game, you already knew.
Yeah.
This is the guy that needs to be starting against Jacksonville next week.
Well, that's the thing that I was saying with Malik last week when you you knew it probably wasn't going to happen, but they had a chance down the stretch, right?
Yeah.
But you just didn't have the confidence that Malik was able to do anything, especially throw a deep ball downfield, right? You didn't get that feeling. With Joshua Dobbs early in the game, like you said, I felt early on like, man, this offense could put some points up on the board, or this offense could at least move. And it took a minute to get in the end zone, but you had a feeling like it was going to get done.
Yeah. And, for rookies, especially at quarterback, like, you're thinking about all the different people that had to play on defense and all the different people that had to play on the offensive line. And if you're a young player that hadn't been out there, and this is where, Josh Dobbs was very, very valuable, playing with all that inexperience, is he's been out there. He's visualized it. He's seen it. He's done it. And those guys that haven't, like a Malik Willis or, an interior, just pick any offensive lineman, you know what I mean? So, first of all, they got to remember the snap count. They got to, know, okay, the play is going left. This guy just shifted. There's so many pre-snap things that a young player is thinking about, and on top of making sure you're doing the right thing. So multiply that by 10 at the quarterback position and having responsibilities for people. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of second guessing, and then that's all pre-snap. So
you mentioned that,
Yeah.
Keith. How difficult is it for a player, let alone a quarterback, who had never started in the league before, to be with the team for 8 days? 8 days to go out there and perform the way he did. Now, look, it wasn't the most amazing performance of all time, but it was solid. It instilled confidence. He kept his team in the game. You felt that they could move the ball some, and they did. Yes, they only had 13 points, but all the circumstances facing Josh Dobbs, how remarkable was that performance by him yesterday, considering the circumstances?
Yeah, I mean, look, you saw Baker Mayfield go to the Rams and be able to execute the offense. Josh Dobbs has been in the NFL longer than Baker Mayfield. He hasn't been a starter. He's been in some, organizations that have had some good coaches. And he was in Pittsburgh for a long time.
Yeah, a couple different times.
So, like Kayla said, it's just about opportunity, like she said, Justina Anderson said, it's just about opportunity. Yeah. And, you got to seize the moment. So honestly, I was kind of like relieved that, for a guy that's so smart, air quotes, he's actually a pretty good football player.
Showed a lot of confidence, a lot of poise. He played within himself in terms of his abilities, hung in there when facing pressure inside the pocket and on the run. So Josh Dobbs, a solid performance last night, and I think puts himself in the driver's seat to start the season finale against the Jags, whether it's Saturday or Sunday next week for all the marbles for the AFC South and a first-round playoff game at home. Again, Dallas Cowboys 27, Tennessee Titans 13. Your phone calls coming up. Your reactions at 615-737-1045. Also follow us on Twitter at Ramon Kayla Will. What's your confidence level in Joshua Dobbs? How do you feel about him starting next week? And a question we will discuss throughout the show today. What is the long-term future of Josh Dobbs as a Titan? Ramon, Kayla, and Will. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Dobbs takes the snap, looking, firing deep downfield. Man is there, and it's caught! McMath! Racey McMath makes the catch at the Dallas 32-yard line. Wright touches him down. That's the big play we've been waiting for from Racey McMath.
Well, for Racey McMath, it was one catch, but it was a big one. 3 plays of 30 or more yards from the Titans offense yesterday. Chunk plays for them with Josh Dobbs at quarterback. Unfortunately, 13 points on the board, and that was it. Welcome back into Ramon, Kayla, and Will here on 104.5 The Zone Reaction Friday, the final Friday of the year. Got the Orange Bowl coming up tonight. We'll talk more about that with Will Bolling in the 9 o'clock hour. Mike Keith, who you just heard the voice of the Titans, will join us during the 8 o'clock hour. And you can join us anytime at 615-737-1045. Also get your comments on Twitter at Ramon Kayla Will. Going to start things off today with Michael in Clarksville. Michael, good morning. You're on the Zone.
Good morning to the best producer in the world. How you doing?
Producer, host, janitor, whatever they asked me to do, Michael.
Man, pay raise. That's what they
Yeah.
need to give me.
Yeah. All this elevation.
We all wish.
This elevation in job with no reduction in pay, yes.
Oh, man. KB, good to hear from you. Kayla, what's good?
What's up?
What up, buddy?
Man, hey, I'm here, man. Went to the game last night. I showed up. I said, you know what? I'm just going to have fun. Because
Yeah.
at this point, I mean,
Right.
that's just all we're going to do, you know. And it was kind of a packed crowd. It was a mixture of a lot in there. And I found out at the tailgate that Josh Dobbs was starting. I was like, wait a minute, we signed Josh Dobbs. I was like, when did this happen? I said, okay, all right, here we go. And in my head, I'm thinking like, okay, well, don't get your rookie quarterback beat up. But also, it's like, okay, this guy's been in the league, but there's a reason why he's a free agent. I mean, we always have to keep that
That's a
in
fact.
the back of my head. So it's like, one thing that got me upset yesterday, and Keith, I want your input on this. You didn't see Derrick Henry. You didn't see none of our top guys that support these guys yesterday. And I was like, where are the leaders of this team right now, regardless if we're playing Dallas? To me, I don't believe in resting. Get out there and get it done. That was a good game playing when you don't have a Derrick Henry, right? So you take away, the king, you got to throw the ball. So it was good to see the Titans come to the 21st century, but the reality is they're going to revert back to what they know, which is give the ball to DH 30 times next week and try to beat Jacksonville. But overall, I mean, the performance was, okay. You seen why he was a free agent. They probably would have had 3 interceptions yesterday, but they dropped them. But Keith, what did you get from not seeing those leaders out there at this particular game supporting these guys?
Michael, appreciate the phone call.
Yeah, Michael, great question. That's interesting because I was on the field pregame, and I was looking for Derrick Henry. I was looking to see Big Jeff.
I did see Big Jeff
At
the stadium. I don't know where they were sitting.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't know. I'm not saying they weren't there. Of course, they were at the stadium. I could not see them not being at the stadium. But to what Michael was saying, I think that's pretty weak that they weren't on the sidelines. You know what I'm saying?
Is that a rule?
It's not a rule. You can go.
Okay.
You can go sit in the. Well, we didn't have. I don't know. I only missed one game when I was here, and I was on the sidelines.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Torn ACL, sitting on the sidelines, cheering my teammates on. But I would think that's pretty weak. And if I was one of the leaders, I definitely would say something. But they, like I'm saying, I don't know that locker room. So maybe someone like Kevin Byard doesn't really mind that. But I would have a problem with it just for the simple fact that, okay, I get it that y'all are off, but you guys are the leaders. The young guys that are playing for you could benefit from you being on the sidelines when they come off the field and you see something and be like, look, they're playing you a little bit this way. Or, the young running back, Haskins. He could benefit a lot from Derrick Henry being on the sidelines, using his eyes, another set of eyes. So I just think that, okay, you're not playing and you're entitled to do what you want. I just feel like those guys missed a great opportunity to, help some of those younger guys and just be kind of like an inspiration even without having pads on.
Yeah, I'm curious. And again, I didn't think it was a rule nowadays that those players could not be on the sideline, but I'm going to try to look further into that.
Oh, you mean is it a rule that injured players can't be on the sidelines?
Right. Or you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Because I'm wondering, in the preseason games, I know there's been home games for the preseason where I've seen Derrick Henry and the leaders out on that team because I've asked actually specific questions about that, how they kind of get the younger guys pumped up when they come to the sideline. But I don't know if that's a thing in the NFL regular season that they don't allow them.
Yeah, I'm sitting here just going through my mental Rolodex of just watching games this year and players being injured and seeing them on the sidelines for sure. So with a clipboard or with something. So I mean, it could be a rule or it's just personal decision, but. My opinion is that I feel as if those players, if it wasn't a rule and they were loud, should have been out there on the sideline with their teammates.
Well, regardless, even just being out there playing, and I know a lot of these guys, I don't think it was ultimately their decision.
Right.
Kevin Byard was going to be out there regardless. He told us that on Monday when we talked to him in the locker room. And I'll tell you this much, though. When I was asking some of those guys that Dr. Gibby, Jack Gibbons, Monty Rice, some of those guys that played a good role last night or have done their job, have kind of been able to step up in the moment. I was asking them about what it meant to have Kevin Byard out there as maybe one of the only big-time starters that was on the field, and their faces literally lit up.
Yeah.
And said it meant a ton.
Yeah.
To have him out there. And,
I definitely, take my hat off to Kevin Byard because, I've been in situations where, the media is coming to you for every answer in a 5-game losing streak. Now a 6-game losing streak. You're the all-pro on the defense, a depleted roster. You have to answer the questions in the locker room, and then on game day, you have to go out and make something happen. And, for him to go out last night and make plays, that's what it's about. That's what big-time players are about. That's why Kevin Byard will always be loved and regarded here in Nashville, just for the simple fact that in games like last night, he goes out and he puts it on the line. He actually makes plays, two interceptions, taking advantage. And those guys that you mentioned being on the field with them, I used to tell guys in those situations, like, y'all are lucky to be on the field with me, because I'm coming into this game prepared as possible, just like Kevin Byard. Like when you hear him speak after the game, before the game, I'm coming to play to try and help win this game. I'm going to do everything possible. And then he goes out there and actually does it, those guys that you mentioned, that's why their face lights up, because they practice with this man every day. They see what he brings to the table in practice, in the building, in the locker room, what he demands of himself in the training room, how he take care of himself, how he works out, all those things you see as a young player. And for him to keep going out there and do it, it says a lot.
Kevin Byard became the Titans' all-time leader in interceptions, 27 now for his career. Had 2 last night. The first one happened to be at the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. And Dax,
for sure.
Dax had some turnovers like that over the past several weeks.
Yes,
Dak
he
Prescott.
has.
Dallas stinks. Sorry.
Let's go to that point as I hear Bert
Bolling.
chiming in, laughing there. Dak Prescott an interception in each of the last 6 games.
Yeah, look. The name of the game, the Titans had their 3rd string players out there with, Joshua Dobbs just came in there last week.
Right.
And look, you can have lapses and stuff like that. I felt like Mike McCarthy should have went for it when he kicked the field goal to make it 10-7.
You were vocal about that on Twitter.
Yeah, because it's look, man, y'all aren't gonna win jack because you're playing around you're playing with your food.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You're supposed to come in here and beat the Titans up, and you didn't, and you couldn't because turnovers got in your way, and when you stopped turning the ball over, then you kind of settled down and was able to cover the 14-point spread, what I'm saying? But you can't do that against good football teams. So
No.
that's where they're heading. So that's why I just will be voting. Like, Dallas stinks. Like, they have good players, but they need to really get it together. And what was really annoying at the game last night, and I was only there for a quarter and a half, was when the Cowboys fans started doing the "Let's Go Cowboys" chant. Like, that really, I really don't care. I don't care, if the Titans win or lose. I'm not at home. I want to see them play well. I want to see things go well for them, because I've been there and I understand, and I'm a Titan, former Titan and all that. But I don't have any emotions with it.
No, you don't.
But, I don't know. I think I felt like a little boil of blood when they started doing that "Let's Go Cowboy" chant in the stadium.
Off, yeah.
I wanted to throw a beer on somebody.
It was bizarre, wasn't it? The mixture, because look,
get out of here.
It wasn't a bad atmosphere, honestly, you guys, because there were people packed. I mean, it was packed.
They're just so arrogant.
But yeah, there was a ton of Cowboys fans. I mean, at some points when they made plays, you were like, "Wait, where am I? Am I in Jerry's world right now?"
You're absolutely right, because I turned my back one time and the crowd cheered and I thought the Titans made a play and I'm like, yo, hold up, man. So
Don't
it was
be
crazy.
deceived.
Well, it was
right?
two things when I first came into town 18 years ago that I was told was prior to the Titans, the biggest fan groups were Cowboys fans and Steelers fans because those were the games that were shown on regional TV prior to the Titans.
That's fair.
So you have those big fan bases. Keith, and you had to deal with the Steelers many times, during your career.
For sure.
And I did want to mention to you, Kayla, the atmosphere last night, because at the beginning, it did kind of feel like a preseason game.
Yeah.
Because the Cowboys went and scored, and then to your point, Keith, they didn't go and try for the touchdown. They settled for the field goal. Second half, I thought the fans were really good, and they did a good job there. We knew it would be a split crowd because of the Cowboys.
The fandom and
that fandom and a lot of people who flew in. We had people saying a lot of Cowboys fans flew in when they could get a flight to come in to see this game.
What happened, Southwest?
Right?
But it was definitely an interesting atmosphere at Nissan Stadium.
I thought it was mixed of what I thought was going to happen. I knew it was going to be a lot of Cowboys fans because we had heard earlier in the week that the airport was full of them.
And it always is because that fan base travels.
Yeah.
Exactly. And look, it's New Year's Eve weekend. You've got people who want to visit Nashville regardless because it is the it city.
Oh, they just had a good weekend then.
That's what I'm saying.
You got Music City Bowl coming up tomorrow.
Hey, if you wanted to hit up a hockey game a little bit earlier in the week, the Stars were here. So if you're a big Dallas fan, this is kind of the place to be. So I think they just stayed here. But also, you have a Dallas Cowboys team that legitimately has the pieces to be a Super Bowl contending team. Now, there are a lot of questions about it because they haven't been able to get out of their own way in the past few years. And I don't know if they can do it this year either because of what we've seen even from last night and Dak having turnover issues this year. But regardless, Cowboy fans wanted to see this team play. And on the other hand, the Titans fans knew what was on the field. No disrespect to any of those guys that were backups, but they're putting a product out here that, what are you going to see right now?
Aside from Dobbs starting, and if you're a Volunteers
and
fan.
They didn't know that till late.
Exactly. Just not a lot of juice from the Titans' point of view for the fans going into that game.
Yeah.
But I thought it was a very interesting atmosphere, which, Keith, you can comment to that as well since you were there for the first quarter and a half.
Yeah, I think, obviously people trickled in because there still was a little traffic. I think in the middle of the first quarter, by the time everything got settled, it was all good. But I think the Josh Dobbs effect really kind of, put some energy into that crowd that was at the stadium just for the simple fact now they had something to look forward to. Titans fans had something to look forward to.
Yes.
Josh Dobbs is, and I told you guys that I spoke before at this Amazon Prime suite to some lucky ticket winners. And, that was one of the things I mentioned. I was like, Miss Amy's really smart. She knows how to sell a ticket. And I was like, if anything, UT and Vols Nation can, get a great opportunity to see one of their, Vols legends go out there and perform at home. They can take some nostalgia. So there was stuff built into that game, but the look of the crowd, it just looked like a lot of Dallas jerseys.
Yeah, and it's
stop
hard.
reselling your tickets, man.
Right? It's hard sometimes because they're both blue teams. Like,
Yeah.
they have the blue in it. So sometimes you can't exactly tell who's who. But, yeah, once you started to really look, especially the upper decks, you guys, a lot of Dallas up
Yeah.
there.
I'll say this: those uniforms on the Cowboys, those are sharp.
Everybody loved
Those
them
are
that I
pretty
saw.
crisp. I have to
Yeah.
Yeah,
admit.
I would have looked sweet in those whole way.
I bet.
But yo, you know what? And you were mentioning, both of you guys were mentioning Dak.
Yeah.
Dak doesn't play with a confidence to me. You know, he plays with all right, I mean, his confidence builds as the game goes. Because if he makes a mistake,
He doesn't start with swag.
yeah,
There we
you
go.
go.
That's a great way to put it.
1,000%. 1,000%. Like, it has to build up. And then, like, if he he has great teammates. He has great football players around
Absolutely.
him. Like, he's not Joe Burrow. He's not, like, built like that. Like, Joe Burrow has great pieces around him, and he knows how to use them, and he knows his skill set. He doesn't try and do too much. I just feel like Dak sometimes presses. Everybody
I think so,
presses,
too.
but at this point of his career, he should be just cool. He should know what's going on, you know?
Yeah, and in the past, Dak's not really been known for turning the ball over, like not taking
Not
care
to
of the-
this degree.
to the ball. Yeah, and this year it's just kind of like they can't figure it out. Almost like Ryan Tannehill last year. Honestly, remember what happened with Ryan and the turnover prone Ryan Tannehill last year? That's what I kind of feel like Dak is doing this year.
Well, and there's also a difference is that Dak with a much better offensive line in front of him than what Ryan
correct.
Tannehill had last year or this year. 615-737-1045. More of your reaction and our reaction to the Cowboys and the Titans from last night. Dallas with the 27-13 victory over the two-tone blue. I'm Jonathan Schaefer in for Will Bolling. He's Keith Bulluck in for Ramon Foster. Kayla Anderson is always here, which means she needs to take some time off soon. Before we go to the break, Adam in our chat, our Zone TV on YouTube. My best friend is a Cowboys fan.
No.
What a pompous ass.
I know.
This
For sure.
is
Oh my
104.5
gosh.
The Zone.
Prescott firing right side, and it is intercepted. Byard on a deflection. It bounced off the receiver and went to Byard for his third INT of the year.
Leads the team, the franchise in interceptions. Congratulations to Kevin Byard on that. 2 interceptions last night with a little Pusha T coming back here on 104.5 The Zone. Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Jonathan Schaefer in for Will. Keith Bulluck in for Ramon. Foster, Kayla Anderson putting the big J in journalism and a big BOSS and boss right here on the show. 615-737-1045 as we continue with your reactions and our reactions to last night's game. Eric in Nashville, you're on 104.5 The Zone. Good morning, Eric.
Hey, Happy New Year, guys.
Yep,
Happy
you too.
New Year.
Me too.
Hey, guys, don't be too mad at me. Before the Titans came here, I was a Cowboys fan since like the mid-'70s,
Yeah.
and one of the main reasons was because of Ed Too Tall Jones, who used to go to Tennessee State.
TSU.
The fact that he's not in the Hall of Fame is still a crime, but I won't get into
So
that. guys.
quickly about that, Eric, is what
Yeah.
I said accurate to where a lot of people in the region were Cowboys or Steelers fans because of, especially in the
you're right.
70s. Yeah.
You're right, yeah, because they were on the TV so much and everything, and it would not surprise me. I'm not saying it because I know it for a fact. There were probably Cowboys fans to Jersey who are also Titans fans who probably put them on for that game, but I won't get into that. But, guys, as far as the game last night, impressive with Joshua Dobbs, the way he played, especially the way they had him rolling out, making throws, like I said, drops by receivers. Kevin Byard, you brought up what I was going to say. What can you say about the guy? 2 interceptions, and he also broke up another pass. This guy just lays it on the line, and I was just so impressed with him. And, guys, let me tell you something. Also, just the frustrating thing, the officiating, because I know we haven't gotten into that. 10 penalties for the Titans and only 3 for the Cowboys. The one from the passer call that was called for Dak and the one that was not called for us, which was kind of similar. I was upset with that. Also, the fact that you had pass interference call where we should have gotten one. They got one. The holding one, the 51-yarder, was correct, but it was just officiating. My problem is if you're going to call it, at least be consistent. And as Coach Mack said, one of the worst officiating crews that they had last night. But all in all, I feel encouraged going to Jacksonville next week. Let's go, guys. Tighten up. Y'all take care, and we'll talk again soon.
Appreciate the phone call, Eric. Let's go ahead and go there. 10 penalties, 124 yards, and 1 penalty was the Trey Avery penalty of 51 yards, which that was legit DPI.
Yeah,
There's no debate
it was.
on that.
It was.
Keep your hands to yourself.
Yeah, Cowboys, 3
That was a bad
penalties
mistake.
and 35 yards for them. I'll say this. It's easy to go down the officiating rabbit hole. I just now operate on a basis of the officiating is going to be mediocre most of the time in most games. That's just kind of how I operate, which may be a bit of a negative way to view it. But it was definitely the consistency of the calls last night. But if you're the Titans and you're right now a mediocre team, you can't give the officials any reason to throw the flag.
Yeah, but you still got to call it both ways. I feel like at one point, wasn't it like 10 Titans penalties and none on the Cowboys or something like that? It was pretty lopsided. And, you know, that means one team is playing sloppy in sloppy conditions and the other team is playing perfect. You know what I mean? It just don't make sense. So, you know, I'm not one to cry about the refs just because it's part of the game, but I can't even lie. At one point last night, I'm like, dang, they really want the Cowboys to win this. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I thought it was interesting before the game. If you've followed these officiating crews at all this year, which I know some diehard Titans fans do, they know what they're about to get into. Mike Keith said this on Titans radio, that this officiating crew actually leads the NFL in
Holding penalties.
So like 54 holding calls. I mean, it's one of those crews that you're going to expect to see flags flown. But I'm with you, Keith. I don't really comment much about officiating. I don't usually go there. But I think the inconsistency of the calls last night was what really irked me. And I know that it wasn't just people who were covering the game or fans of the Titans. It was guys in the NFL that were watching the game. Former Tennessee Titan Daquan Jones, no, not Naquan Jones.
Right.
Daquan Jones was even chiming in several times saying, you're going to call that, but then you're not going to call this. That's when you kind of know, like, okay, we got to have some consistency here.
The biggest missed call possible DPI was the deep ball to Burks in the second half. Titans
100%.
Titans on their third drive. They're in it. They're in the game. Got good chunk plays from Burks, from Haskins, but that missed DPI on the deep ball to Burks, I'll be honest, my first time seeing it in real time, didn't think it was interference. I just thought there was some hand fighting.
Sure.
I didn't think it was a DPI. And then I think Terry McAuliffe on the TV call went on there and said, no, they should have called it because he impeded the arm of Traylon Burks. What happened on that drive? Punted. What happened on the next drive? Interception. What happened on the next one? Turnover on downs. Next drive, end of game. So in terms of the penalties that went against the Titans, whether one being called or not called, that was really the biggest one.
Yeah, and that stuck out to me, too, because by that time I was home cozy on my couch.
Yeah.
And you can clearly see, like you said, at first you can't tell in full speed, but then you can clearly see Traylon goes up with two hands, and the DB pulled his other hand down and away, so there was no way he would be able to make that catch. And then the other one that stuck out was the Dobbs, because Dak Prescott, Rice definitely smoked Dak Prescott, but at the same time, there was a similar play on the other side, so call it both ways, because when I saw that play in full speed, I was like, oh, damn,
Yeah.
And then it was the exact same thing.
Let's go back to when you were playing, because those rules didn't exist.
Yeah, no.
They didn't exist. If that would have been Keith Bulluck, Mr. Monday Night, making that play on Dak Prescott, we'd all be going, hit that guy!
Yeah.
Now, with the rule being the way it is written, it was technically a penalty. It's just soft. It's silly. I hate that call. I understand why they do it, but the way it is interpreted and then called, it stinks.
I don't think there's a clear rule for the refs, because we've seen how it's progressed throughout the season.
Exactly.
We've seen some. I remember that Chiefs game where the lineman just tackled the quarterback and like, oh, you dropped your weight on him. I think they need to make a video, because I remember when I was playing, the refs would come in during camp. Every year they would ref a few, practices or maybe joint practice, however it went. But we always saw a rules tape, and they would have the cut-ups of this rule has changed. You can't do this. You can't do that. And I think that this rule with the, impacting the quarterback, bringing them to the ground wasn't really discussed and gone over, because even on that Rice hit on Dak Prescott, I felt as if I saw, and when they replayed it, I was incorrect, because Rice kind of still had his hand behind him. But I thought Dak was kind of pulling him on top of him. You know what I mean?
And may have been.
Yeah, so because Dak's arm was kind of around him a little bit. I'm not saying that will happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's a new tactic of quarterbacks. Just pull the guy on top of you and get that penalty.
And that's the thing that earlier in the season, Mike Vrabel had pointed out specifically with just being more consistent, especially when it came to roughing the passer calls. He's cool with officials doing their jobs, but got to find some consistency at some point.
Yes.
And Mike Vrabel was very vocal about that.
And that's where the issue is, and Keith mentioned it, is that it's the individual interpretation of these rules by the officials that's not consistent, which is why I don't like the rules. Now, the play in which Parsons hit Dobbs with the top of his helmet, hit him on the chin, I think the ref was behind
Couldn't see that.
Dak and just missed it. I think he was at an angle where he just missed it. And it wasn't a ton of contact. Now, it was clearly enough that a flag should have been thrown.
Yeah.
Wasn't a vicious hit by any means, but by the letter of the rule. And we've seen that called a million times this year and in years past. That should have been a penalty. Now, what happens when you have a good team playing a very depleted team like the Titans?
Yep.
Those type of calls do tip the balance of the game. Doesn't mean it costs the Titans the game, but it tips the balance of the game because of the missed opportunities.
Yeah, and it gives a team that's already a really good team, a little bit of an advantage. Yeah, for sure.
And when it comes to pass interference and the lack of consistency calling pass interference, that's why it needs to be a 15-yard penalty moving forward.
Yeah.
I agree.
I don't think it should be a spot foul.
I agree, because, like I say, Tom Brady and some of these other quarterbacks have really mastered
Aaron
just
Rodgers
throwing the ball deep and just getting that flag. And
And
The
some
league
just
is-
get an advantage in general
Yeah.
because of it's Tom Brady. Or
Yeah,
Aaron
Tommy
Rodgers.
B, he does that. He's been doing that for
Yeah.
10 years.
Yes. Yeah.
Literally.
20 years in case of Tom Brady. 615-737-1045. We will once again recap the Titans falling to the Cowboys last night, 27-13. Talk about the performance of Josh Dobbs. And we'll even start previewing next week all the marbles of the AFC South as the Titans will go down to Duval to take on the Jags for the division. I'm Jonathan Schaefer. He's Keith Bulluck. She's Kayla Anderson. Burt behind the glass. This is Ramon, Kayla, and Will on 104.5 The Zone.
7:01. Good morning from the Superbook.com Sports Desk. I'm Robert Walsh. Thursday night football last night, the Titans gave a spirited effort, but in the end, it wasn't enough to overcome the Cowboys' firepower as they lose 27-13. The Titans weren't without bright spots, though. Kevin Byard pulled down 2 interceptions, making him the franchise leader, and this is the one that gave him 27.
Prescott takes the snap, has time, fires, and it's intercepted. Byard at the 40, Byard at the 50, Byard at the 45, and he's run out of bounds and tackled out of bounds by Smith. 3 turnovers by the Cowboys in the first half, and how do you like that?
Can't forget about Josh Dobbs, though. In his first career start, he went 20 for 39, 232, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. Titans moved to 7-9, but next week is for all the marbles. Bowl season came around, and we had some more fun games. This bowl season has been pretty fun. Pinstripe Bowl, Minnesota beat Syracuse. Sorry, bully. 28-20. Cheez-It Bowl, Florida State took down Oklahoma 35-32. And the Alamo Bowl, Washington took down Texas 27-20. In the NBA, Grizzlies beat the Raptors 119-106. Ja Morant had 19 points in a career high, 17 assists. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Hour number 2 on the final Friday of 2022. We're going to act like it and react to what happened last night. The Dallas Cowboys 27-13 win over the Tennessee Titans on Thursday Night Football at Nissan Stadium. Good morning to you as it is 7:04 in America's Music City, a.k.a. Music City, USA. I'm Jonathan Schaefer in for Will Bolling, who is sipping mimosas this morning down in Florida. Keith Bulluck, Mr. Monday Night, Titans legend, filling in for Ramon Foster today. She puts the big J in journalism, and she is a capitalized BOSS, the boss.
Let's go.
Kayla Anderson in here as always. Bert, our favorite North Kakalaki redneck, running the show today. Also the best substitute teacher in the world, as we are recapping the Titans' loss to the Cowboys yesterday, 27-13. The show, as always, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. When trust matters, count on All Four Seasons Garage Doors in Nashville. Professional garage door installation and repair from a locally owned and family-run business. Visit allfourseasonsgarages.com/Nashville. All guests today courtesy of the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline. Mike Keith in the 8 o'clock hour. The aforementioned Will Bolling in the 9. We are live and in living color on Zone TV. You can access that through YouTube, also Facebook and Twitch. Follow us on Twitter at Ramon Kayla Will. Made his first career start yesterday. He had been a Titan for only 8 days when he made that start, but VFL Josh Dobbs went 20 of 39 for 232 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. That interception late and a bit costly for the Titans. But Dobbs also had 3 carries for 12 yards and 3 pass plays of 30 or more yards. So they had some chunk plays in that game as well. And really nothing more could be asked of Josh Dobbs' performance. Nothing could be expected more from Josh Dobbs, I think, than what he did yesterday. Showed plenty of confidence and poise and played within himself. And he hung in there when facing pressure. He took a beating in the pocket and also when he was able to roll out. But quickly, as I go to Kayla and then we go to Keith, what would the grade be on Josh Dobbs' performance yesterday with all circumstances worked in there?
I mean, a B+. I think that's a good grade to give him because even he said at the podium last night, he was already analyzing like what he knew he had to fix. And he said, I couldn't wait to get back in that film room. More situational stuff is what he said. But I think overall, you're in there 8 days and you're able to kind of do whatever you can do, cram as much as you can cram to learn this offense and go out there and really in the first half, I think Titans felt like they had maybe a little bit of a chance going into the half. I don't think overall you knew it was going to happen because they'd get worn down. but I think a B+ is a fair grade to give him.
Keith?
I'm gonna give him a B. I feel like that was a quiz. If he gets to start this week, that'll be a real test based off what someone just said. I wasn't paying attention. What he said.
Thanks for making it to the show here, Keith.
Right? Hey, you said coming in, we're still kind of groggy. But no, but based on what he said post game, he's already ready to get back and see where he can get better. So I give him a B because I think that, it'd be great to see him without any turnover, play like game 2. And then that's more of probably what you can expect in game 3. Get that win on next Sunday. Obviously, with him being the starter 3 games in a row in the playoff situation, at the end of the day, it just seems like, Josh Dobbs is a gamer. You know what I mean? Like what I was saying yesterday, like, yo, Malik, just go out there and ball out, kid. Go have fun. And Josh Dobbs.
What was the term that you used, Keith, yesterday at the end of the show?
Let your nuts hang.
Funniest thing I have heard in a long time.
Josh Dobbs is like, that's exactly what he did. Because he's like, look, man, I'm back where I started, pretty much where I ended, his last college game. But, the best memories is probably in Tennessee for him as an athlete. You know what I'm saying? We're being the most productive. And, a 6-year journeyman at quarterback, you could float a couple more years and just be like a backup, or now you could be on a scout team and stuff like that. But I think that he's making his case for, to be the next Jacoby Brissett. Like, you know what I mean? When their starter goes down, that, okay, Josh Dobbs can get in there, lead a team, because Jacoby Brissett has come so far since we first saw him in New England when he had to go in and, do spot quarterback duties for that one. It was like a primetime game as well. And it might have been, Josh Dobbs actually had a better outing than Jacoby Brissett did. So that's what I'm saying. If, he gets reps, he gets more time, and, Josh has had all these things, but I think he can be a very, very solid quarterback in the NFL for years to come. Now that he's really gotten an opportunity, gosh, he's only threw the ball 17 times in 6 years. What did he do, 40, 49? 39 last night. So,
which for a Titans team is a lot.
Yeah, so he's proven that, okay, he can wing it, Now, let's get him more practice. Let's get him more specific game plan things to do. And, a guy from NASA, I'm sure he can get it done. He's smart.
Right. The point of a backup, everybody knows this, who's a football fan, is to come in here when your quarterback goes down for a few games or a couple games and go in there and you feel like, okay, you have the confidence that they can lead you to wins or at least compete in a game. And I just feel like for the Titans this year, because Malik is learning on the spot and he was the backup, remember, he beat out Logan Woodside, who is now in Atlanta. But the confidence I feel like is him as a backup this year just wasn't really here. And now, you got a guy like Joshua Dobbs that has shown in one game when he's been here for 9 days that he can go in and at least compete with no toys in terms, with a lot of guys that have just been pulled up.
Yeah, the land of misfit toys out there.
Yeah. I was going to say, so in 2000, when I was on the Titans, Neil O'Donnell was our backup quarterback. Neil O'Donnell had already been in a Super Bowl, been on 3 teams. So now he's on the back end of his career where he's all right, being in a quarterback classroom, helping a young Steve McNair, young Billy Volick, teaching them all the ropes. So now they don't necessarily do that when it comes to backups. And it was like that for a while. Now you might be able to scour the league and find some teams where they had, like Matt Ryan should be a backup. Right. You know what I mean? Like guys that are later in, like when you try and this is all on the Colts, that's their own fault. But at this point of his career, when they brought in like Phillips Rivers, he should have been a backup. Like, so you're using, these older quarterbacks where they can benefit your younger talent to be starters and try and, that's not it unless you have a team built around them. So I guess my point is that, Josh Dobbs having all those years in the NFL is kind of more like a throwback backup quarterback
Sure.
where he can still keep getting better within this system. So if he has to go for a stretch of 5-6 games, with some creativity from the offensive side of the ball, you can make game plans, around him and the pieces. Obviously, you get Derrick Henry back, and like you mentioned, Traylon Burks. I like his swag. He's starting to feel, he's starting to come into his own in the NFL.
Can we mention that catch where he had the, knowledge or just natural capability to keep his feet in?
His footwork was
twisted,
incredible.
and then he was able to keep it in again. I mean, that was incredible.
He's starting to show growth for sure.
He really is. You're seeing what this guy could really be.
7:12 right now, hour 2 of Ramon Kayla Will here on 104.5 The Zone. Up next, Josh Dobbs got to benefit from plays that perhaps should have been called for Malik Willis when he was the quarterback. 615-737-1045 for your reaction to last night's game. You can also join us on YouTube. You can join us on the Zone TV in the chat there, and on Twitter at Ramon Kayla Will. Jonathan Schaefer for Will Bolling. Keith Bulluck in for Ramon Foster. She is Kayla Anderson. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Dropping the snap, Prescott. I think the Titans got on it. They did.
There we go.
An error by the Cowboys at midfield. And coming up with the football is Tier Tart. The defense responds.
Welcome back in to Ramon Kayla Will, 104.5 The Zone, second hour of the show. Cowboys fans, if you want to know why you're not going to go to a Super Bowl, it's because of that. Ball security from your quarterback, Dak Prescott, with that turnover. 3 turnovers in the first half, which kept the Titans in the game and got everybody going at halftime. See what happens here in the second half. Unfortunately, the Cowboys are able to do better in terms of not turning the ball over, and then they pulled away there with a skosh of help from officiating.
Cowboys stink.
I love this is the take that I'm just all for.
I grew up, so one of the callers called it, I grew up a Cowboys fan because like you're saying, like at one point in my life, we lived in North Carolina, Wilson, North Carolina. Mm-hmm. And my mom was a Cowboys fan, and my brothers were Steelers fans. And I was a Tony Dorsett fan, so I grew up a Cowboys fan.
You could have picked a better team, but you didn't, Keith.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
all right,
look,
though.
but no, like, so I grew out of that after they, like, I even remember when they were 1-5. They won their first Monday night game with Troy Aikman. Mm-hmm. And then after they won that first Super Bowl, I think I had my Cowboys fixed. I had moved on because after that, that's when the arrogance started. I feel like after that first Super Bowl, because they were down for so long, and then they got that first and then this arrogance started, and I was like, I think I was getting older, and I was like, forget these Cowgirls. And then I went to the Giants, so there'll always be the Cowgirls too.
Well, the huge rivalry between those two.
That is crazy. Like,
I always find it funny that
was
Dallas,
a great experience. Like being in New York and being a part of somebody else's rivalry. Like I was like being a fly on the wall. I'm like, dang,
what made
it
so cool?
Just because,
just
like
big,
like being in Tennessee I'm here for a decade, so like I know all our rivalries. I know all our opponents. We played the Cowboys, and like I never really thought, and that was not a big deal to me. You know what I'm saying? But in New York, it's usually between the Eagles, the Giants, and the Cowgirls. So it's like,
I like that Washington wasn't even mentioned in that anymore. They're just out.
The Deadskins, now known as the Commanders. No,
some people call them the Communists, which is funny to me.
Yeah, but yeah. So I just kind of, I kind of respected and liked. How the team got ready and prepared that week and stuff like that. Although I didn't play a big role. Like I said, I was a fly on the wall. So I got to be there and experience. Yeah, it was cool.
Kevin in Clarksville is on Ramon, Kayla, and Will here on 104.5 The Zone. Good morning, Kevin.
Hey, how y'all doing this morning, man?
Good.
What's up, Kev?
Great. Hey, let me tell you, last night when I looked at the Titans game, first of all, I didn't expect us to score 7 points, maybe a field goal. And so the only reason that I looked at the game was to see Josh Dobbs, because I've always liked him, especially when he was here in Tennessee. But I don't know what they're going to do going forward, because what if Josh Dobbs starts to ball out? You know what I'm saying? What do you do then? Because as I was looking at the game, I was thinking to myself, what if we had our starting players? How much better would the game have been, and how much better would he have looked? You know what I mean? So I give Josh Dobbs a B+ also. What I really liked was his confidence, and when he made bad plays, if you look at him coming off the field, he was genuinely mad at himself because he really wants to play well. And so Josh did. For me, he did great. He did great. So that's all I got to say. I was proud of him.
Kevin, appreciate the phone call. And Dobbs looked well, and we're going to see that scenario next week against the Jags. Those starters will be back in the lineup. Derrick Henry's going to be in there. There's no doubt in my mind, regardless of what Mike Vrabel said post-game, where we will assess the quarterback situation. No, Josh Dobbs is going to be the starting quarterback next week. Yeah. He's earned it, and he should be. So we'll find out what he can do with the starters and another week of preparation.
Yeah, and the key thing that the caller just mentioned is, like, he was Josh Dobbs being mad at himself that just means he knows how to adjust.
Yes.
It's just, man, like if you're a pitcher, it's like, I shouldn't have hung that curveball. You know what I mean? Like, dang, next time I'll throw him, outside and high or however it goes. But, that's good. And like we've been saying all morning, it's the experience that he's had, although he's not had a lot of game time reps. It's the experience that he has. And it would be very, very cool to see what a Josh Dobbs-led offense looks like with Derrick Henry back there.
That was my point. That was what I was going to say. Like, I'm interested to see legitimately what it looks like with Derrick, because last night at times, while Hassan was okay, like we saw little smidgets of Hassan Haskins.
I like Hassan. I think he still has a bright future.
I think he has a bright future.
Yep.
Absolutely. I was like, okay, that's a really hard run. I like the way the kid runs. But I couldn't help but think, what if Derrick was in? Like, how would that shift things? And you still want to see Dobbs be able to do what Dobbs did. Like, you can't just put it all on Henry and expect us to see a different result. But I think the mixture of the two could be interesting next week.
Yeah, I will say that, teams definitely relax when they realize Derrick Henry isn't playing. Let's definitely put that out there. Like, if I'm Micah Parsons, I'm getting my big boy pads on, and, Derrick Henry not playing? Oh, all right, cool. I put these away. Who we got? Hassan Haskins? Oh, I remember playing him in Michigan. Yeah, we're going to smack him. But I'm just saying that's just the mindset of, so Derrick Henry definitely – doesn't allow you to put those big boy pads away.
Well, by the way, Titans 10 more yards rushing as a team than the Cowboys last night.
87 yards for the
97 Titans,
Cowboys.
87 for the Cowboys. Yeah. Tony Pollard out of the game. So that was a bit interesting. And the Cowboys only 361 yards of offense. It wasn't.
Yeah.
The defense, I know they gave up 27. They hung in there.
They had to,
and they have all year.
Look at who was in the game.
That's what's incredible.
So for those that weren't at the game, I think the introduction was super cool when they turned the lights out and they were flickering them and all that. And I couldn't help but to think, you always go out there no matter what position you're in. And I couldn't help but think, the Titans, they had this big entrance and stuff like that. And I was like, man, I hope these boys hang in there. You know what I'm saying? Because you always run out of that tunnel expecting to win.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do not care. You expect to win. And I immediately went in my head when they came out of that tunnel to when me and my teammates went up to New England and lost 59-0. And I remember running out of that tunnel expecting to win. And it wasn't until like halftime when we're walking back in, I look at the scoreboard and it's 42-0. And I'm like,
in the snow.
Damn, we still got to come back out here. So because of all of my memories, like, I really, 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 really take my hat off to the fellas in the Titans that suited up last night, because they could have just went out there and just...
But give a lot of that credit. Give a lot of that credit to the leaders, but especially Mike Vrabel. And that's why I can't say enough about, like, the type of head coach he is. Like, that's who the team... it models after is Vrabel's attitude, and like, I don't care who the heck's out there. Like, you got to go out there and act like you're a starter. And that's always been the mindset.
Yep. And that's why I like Vrabel as a coach. I like what he brings. Played the same era. I like the fact that you don't fold. You don't fold. You don't fold. That's why. And look, and if you're hurt, you're hurt. You can't go. You can't go. But Kevin Byard, he ain't gonna fold. He's not coming out the game. Like that 59-0 loss, I wasn't coming out the game. I'm going down with the ship. If I'm the captain, I'm going down with the ship. And I'm not going to die because I could swim.
Yeah.
I'm glad you can swim.
Dang.
That is a life skill.
Boy, I love that.
And by the way, you may not have come out of the game, but I turned it at halftime because that was ugly.
Rightfully so. They switched the game. They did switch the game.
He's right. They did switch the game.
They switched the game.
Which, of course, they switched the game. Why did they not switch the game?
Over. They're doing fleet flickers on us, and They played in the same conditions that we played in. How come they were able to score and we weren't?
Yeah.
That was the ugliest game I ever remember when it comes to the Titans.
Trip to South Beach the next day for a week.
Yeah, I bet. Well deserved.
We came back and went on a 6-game win streak.
Yes, you did.
There you go.
Yep, that's right. We're able to turn things around. Alonzo in Ohio joining us here on Ramon, Kayla, and Will on 104.5 The Zone. What's up, Lonzo?
Hey, what's up? How y'all feeling this morning?
Good.
Good, Lonzo.
All right. First of all, I just want to say thank you to Keith Bulluck. Man, hey, I remember watching you as a kid.
Oh, word.
You are one of the reasons why I'm a Titans fan, so I appreciate you, my
Means
guy.
you're old.
Appreciate you, man.
But this is what I want to say. You're playing plays that Malik Willis should have played. You put Malik Willis under center, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
Put him in the best position for his abilities to be shown. Show confidence in the player that you drafted. That's going to take us to the next level. Everything that Josh Dobbs did, I believe if our coaches would have shown confidence in Malik Willis, he would have done as well. That's all I would like to say.
Lonzo, appreciate it, and that's why I took his call, because I had a feeling that's where he was going to go. But, Keith, we mentioned it earlier in the show. Very first play, rolled him out left, and I went, what is this offense going on?
Yeah.
Now, to be fair, Tannehill's been hurt, rolling him out difficult this year with the ankle and everything. But I went, wait a minute. They just called a Malik Willis play for Josh Dobbs and continued to do so throughout the game.
Yeah, and all three of us have been speaking about this, and I'm glad this subject finally came up. We were saying that last week. I was saying that last week on the radio. Like, you have to cater to what your quarterback can do. And like we were saying off air, you're like, why did it work with Josh? Because, look, Josh just came off the street. You know, Downey probably sat down with him, or even Dobbs is veteran enough to be like, look, I do this well, I do this well, I can do this. You guys do this? Oh, yeah, I know. We just call it this. Oh, yeah, we just say it like this. Oh, we just do it, you know, where you can sit down and talk through the assignment before you take the test. It's like going to extra help. You know what I'm saying? So if you understand, you know, offenses, obviously Josh Dobbs does, I just think that they probably had like that powwow to kind of get on the same page.
But it's like, why not, if you're trying to make Malik the quarterback of the future and you know that he's the backup, Ryan's out, why not cater to him? Like, is it just because he doesn't have the natural knowledge yet, or just can't be that guy that can just sit there and say, this is the stuff I need?
No, I think it's more like they just treat him like a rookie. Okay. Every time I see a Malik interview, he's super nice. He's going to say the thing. So I don't think he's going to be in a quarterback meeting, you know, with Ryan Tannehill and whoever else is in there is going to be like, he's not going to really, he's going to do what the coach wants him to do, you know, whereas Josh Dobbs can be like, coach, well, we did it like this, and I was, you know, so, and then also, like, look, I'll say it, I don't think that the offensive coordinator is the, you know, sharpest guy when it comes to picking up on your players' talents, like knowing your talents to really put together game plans, to adjust, to do those things, to give consistent offensive success. You know, after that first 15, it usually goes south, you know. But I think he did a great job last night.
There was a feel for the game.
Yes. Yeah, he did a great job last night putting Josh Dobbs in comfortable positions. And I never thought for a second that Josh Dobbs looked uncomfortable last night.
Well, you mentioned that. And I was sitting there watching the game thinking to myself, if you're a casual observer and you're Tim in Cheyenne, Wyoming, who just happens to be watching the game, you would never have thought that that was Josh's first career start and that he had been on the team for only 8 days, which is a credit to Josh, and I rarely have said this about the guy I'm about to say, a credit even to Todd Downing to a degree to play to Dobbs' strengths. That's what was most impressive about Dobbs last night. Secondarily to that, he got beat up in the pocket. There was a couple times he hung in there to throw the ball and got smacked. When he was rolling out, there were a couple of times he got smacked. How many times have we seen backup quarterbacks with the happy feet or get rid of the football? Malik's even done it a few times. Josh, despite the overall lack of experience, playing experience as a starter in his career, Kayla, he hung in there, made those plays, and was really fearless. And again, you look at the numbers, solid, a B game. Those intangibles desperately needed right now with Ryan Tannehill, who's been put on IR.
Yeah.
Out for the remainder of the season, whether it's 1 game, 2 games, or crazily enough, even more than that.
And that's the thing when we had mentioned earlier in the show, the decisiveness, even if it was just get rid of the football, right? That's what you felt like Dobbs was comfortable, like Bully said, the entire game. And give credit to Todd Downing for, like AJ was saying on the chat, he, called the game that it was to win, right? Not to lose the game. He was calling plays to win a game. And you felt like that the entire time that they had an opportunity. You felt like the offense continued to move. But I think Dobbs and the confidence and just being able to shake it off if he didn't make a play or if he was feeling the pressure, it was like, all right, get back up. Let's go at it again. That you can't teach experience.
Yeah.
And even though, again, he hasn't been a starter in a game, he has the experience, guys. He's been on NFL teams. You've listened to the league and people who have covered him or been players with him. The respect is through the roof because they know he puts in the work and he just has that confidence as a backup and now a starter at this point right now.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about experience from the players, and I always, take a step back and look at the coaches as well. Like, how much experience does Todd Downing have as an offensive coordinator? How much experience does he have calling plays and making adjustments with a rookie quarterback? Maybe that's why when you get, a Josh Dobbs in there, he can use more of the vocabulary. Like, I don't know where, Todd Downing lies on the coaching spectrum when it comes to getting and delivering the information so the player understands it. If you're working with a Ryan Tannehill, it's easy. Ryan's been in the league for a while. You're working with a Joshua Dobbs, it's easy. He's been in the league for a while. Malik Willis might be a little bit more of a challenge that a young offensive coordinator hasn't had. So he's still figuring those things out as well. Coach Mack was a great coach at telling the detail of what young players needed to do. He can give you, Coach Mack will be like, all right, you need to be right here. He'll have his pointer and he'll be right here. And then if you don't know where here is, get your ass in this B gap right here. It's that, you know what I'm saying? Whereas Coach, he had 20 years of head coaching, position coaching, coordinating coaching. Coach Mack was very comfortable at the end of his career sitting back in that linebacker room, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because he could talk to any position, whereas some of these younger coaches don't have that experience, which can lead to, certain things that they're missing that they may get with more experience.
615-737-1045. More calls on the way. More about this gritty Titans performance where, let's face it, it could have been a whole lot worse than what it was. The most important thing is you got your starting quarterback for next week, that's for sure, and getting guys healthy for the divisional championship that'll be played either Saturday or Sunday. I'm Jonathan Schaefer in for Will Bolling. Keith Bulluck in for Ramon Foster. Kayla Anderson is in because Kayla Anderson is always in. Ooh. This is Ramon, Kayla, and Will on 104.5 The Zone.
13 seconds left in the half. Dobbs dropping, looking, firing, completing it to Burks, who's run out of bounds. No, he stays on his feet. He's at the 20. He's at the 15. He's inside the 10, and he's tackled with 2 seconds left. Timeout, Tennessee.
That led to a field goal from, don't call him fat, Randy Bullock. That made the score 10-6 going into the half. Traylon Burks, 4 catches, 66 yards. Also had a carry for 20 yards. He's wide receiver 1 when he's healthy on this team, and it's not even close. Good morning to you. 7:46 here in Music City, USA, the it city of the USA. I'm Jonathan Schaefer in for Will Bolling. Keith Bulluck in for Ramon Foster. Kayla Anderson here. And also Bert, the best substitute teacher in the world, playing that cut as we come back. But as you mentioned, Kayla, earlier in the show, and we will talk about again, that move by Traylon Burks, being able to stay in bounds, then turn it upfield. That's everything we've been looking for and expecting from the rookie out of Arkansas.
Yeah, I loved when we were like, we got to see the replay, right? Because we didn't even know if he stayed in bounds. And then they showed the replay where he twists, where his feet are like parallel, and then he was able again to stay in with the foot. And I was just like, this is what you expected when you traded away A.J. Brown to move up to get Traylon Burks. Look, he still has work to do.
For sure.
And he's got to stay healthy. But this guy could be a big-time playmaker.
Yeah, I caught that call in the car on my way home, so that was a great description because I didn't see it. But thanks to you and Mike Keith, I've got a full visual. But yeah, you know, it's always hard as a first rounder when you have expectations. When I came in, I was a first rounder. There was no expectations of me. The team just went to the Super Bowl, missed it by a half a yard or a yard. I was drafted number 30 as the best available player still on the draft board. You know what I'm saying? So my first year, I kind of got to do what everyone expected Malik to do. You know, I kind of sat back, played some spot roles, definitely played heavy special teams. But in this day and age, as a first rounder, like Traylon Burks was drafted, air quotes, to replace A.J. Brown. Now, there aren't too many wide receivers coming into the league that are tearing it up. Now, we've seen it with the Jamar Chases and the Justin Jeffersons, and, you know, those are certain special situations. But those teams didn't already have a home run hitting superstar like Derrick Henry. So those rookie wide receiver coming here, they're not going to build the offense around you.
Well, and there was also a scenario, Kayla, and you remember this, before all the A.J. Brown stuff really happened, which led to the trade, there was the whispers of, can you imagine this offense with A.J. and that guy?
Yeah.
There was all that discussion pre-draft about going and getting Traylon
exactly right.
and having both those guys playing in the game.
No.
Instead of Traylon being the replacement.
I kind of forgot about that. Yeah. I think that's where people weren't even thinking, you know, that was going to happen because that trade was like, mind's blown, right?
Yeah, blew everything up.
But yeah, you kind of look back at that and you're laughing. You're like, my goodness, what if they did have both of those guys?
And that's where you can what if things forever.
Yeah.
You know, just what if things to death. But
I forgot. I'm glad you brought that up because that's what we were talking about.
That's probably what Miss Amy was saying to J-Rob. What if we had them both, John?
Yeah.
Damn it, John, we could have had both of these.
Shout out to J-Rob. I like J-Rob.
Andrew in Portland joins us on Ramon Kayla and Will on 104.5 The Zone. What up, Drew?
Good morning. Happy Friday. Hey, listen, so first of all, aside from a win last night, I think that Titans fans got exactly what they needed to see. I know I'm happy with what I saw, which is a competent offense despite resting our big starter, Derrick Henry. Yeah. So I liked what I saw last night. And listen, this is not an overreaction. This is just more of a thought for the future moving forward. First of all, the game plan being called the way it was last night, it kind of makes me wonder if the coaching staff did not want Malik Willis to begin with, because if you did, you would call the game very similar, right? Because that's Willis's skill set. I also wonder if Derrick Henry not being in the lineup is another reason why they've called it a little looser than they normally do. Just two random thoughts there. But my biggest point is this. If we are truly going to, quote-unquote, retool/rebuild in the offseason, And going into next year, we're not going to have a very high draft pick regardless. We're going to be in the top 15 maybe. But is it possible, just throwing this out there for conversation, is it possible if Dobbs continues to perform this way that he is a cheaper bridge gap quarterback for next season, so we dump Ryan Tannehill's salary and just kind of retool this whole thing, get ourselves some more cap space in the offseason? Again, just a thought, but if Willis ain't the guy and Dobbs continues to perform like this, let's say he beats Jacksonville next week and we make it to the playoffs and he performs well, even if we lose. Is that something that we could possibly explore in the offseason? Either way, Happy New Year to all of y'all. See you next year.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thanks, buddy.
I want to be careful speculating on that right now until after this season's actually done. Just because this team has to decide, are we going reloading, however they define that, or are we going rebuilding? I like what Dobbs did last night. It was one game. I don't think Josh Dobbs is a full-time starter in this league. I don't feel that way. It's easy to feel that way from the emotion of last night. I don't think he is. But I do think that, Kayla, moving forward, every option's open on the table.
There are some really, really tough decisions to be made in this offseason. I think this is a critical offseason for Amy Adams-Strunk, for whatever GM they hire, for Mike Vrabel in terms of what input he's going to have, but just the personnel decisions. And that includes the quarterback, guys, because do you say, we're just moving forward, we're going to part ways with Ryan, we're going to save even more money, but there's a lot that needs to happen with that too. You got to be careful, right? If you keep Ryan for a season, you can still, unload some money with Taylor Lewan, Bud Dupree, some of those guys.
Zach Cunningham,
and
possibly Robert Woods.
Right, you can still have Ryan Tannehill as your quarterback for one more year and then maybe move forward. And have maybe Joshua Dobbs and Malik still on the team.
Right.
But whatever it is, guys, the decisions made this offseason, man, I would not want to be in that front office because it's a lot of it's going to determine the future direction of this team. And a lot of it does have to do with the quarterback position.
No question.
It's tough.
And that's the thing. Do you make a few moves?
Right.
Do you dump everybody in terms of money? Because, Keith, you still have talent on this team, for sure.
Yeah. Honestly, I cut the dead weight, whatever that is. Those names.
Defining what the dead weight is.
Right.
Look, Lewan, buy. Woods, buy. Who else did you name?
Cunningham.
Well, Cunningham.
Buy.
Yeah.
Bud, buy. There might be a couple other people, you know what I mean? I don't know. I'm just going
Denico Autry, you hate to say it, but he's one of those people you take a look at.
Yeah, I might, based on his health, he might be somebody that I keep because like you're saying, you still have a foundation. So I'm saying bye to all those people because if I can't get it to the draft, what I need to do is go into free agency and build there because, one, you got to get Vrabel-type people. Two, you got to get guys with experience, guys at this point of their career, they're in year 5, 6, 7. It's not about the cash. They want to win championships. Guys to bring in while you still have some tread on Kevin Byard and all those things.
And you got to pay Jeff, remember?
Yeah. So
or what? Or is he going
to? Look, and then
laughing over here.
I'll just get to the quarterback situation.
Yeah. What's your thoughts?
The quarterback situation, you keep Josh Dobbs. You keep Malik, you keep Tannehill, and you bring in another quarterback. And you got to start developing a sense of competition within this roster, within this team, because steel sharpens steel, iron sharpens iron, whichever one you use. But look, some people need to have fires placed up under them because you just can't come in feeling comfortable. Oh, I got a spot. A spot. Create competition, and that carries over.
I was chuckling real quick, boy. Kayla. I'm not saying you don't do it, but if you're Big Jeff and you're looking around, maybe you don't want to stay, depending upon the level of rebuild.
Yeah, and
hey, we're gonna be there.
You have to say everything's possible.
Everything's possible,
and that is a small possibility.
And I'm going to say this real quick, and I apologize, Keith.
No, go ahead.
If you're Jeffrey Simmons,
and you're rebuilding in a way.
If you're Jeffrey Simmons, and we will go much further down this road in a couple of weeks. no way in hell am I taking a single snap in training camp without a new deal
Yeah,
being
not
done.
for sure.
No,
Not
definitely
a single snap.
Lamar Jackson's a fool.
And I was a bit
He's
surprised.
also his own agent.
I was a bit surprised Jeff Reed didn't hold out even with 2 years left in his deal last training camp. There's not a chance he
Not
goes
this
into
one.
training camp
Nah.
without a new deal.
Nope.
No, absolutely, and he shouldn't. He definitely shouldn't. I forgot what I was gonna say, but I think that that's a decision. That's a huge decision.
You were talking about Lamar.
Yeah, I mean, look, Lamar, he bet on himself. He went out there, he played. Now his knee is hurt.
Yeah.
Now the storylines are whatever they want to make him. He started the season off hot. His last few games that he was out there, obviously he was injured. I was saying he shouldn't have stepped foot. I would have went to camp. I would have went through all the motions. I would have done all of those things. But now, you lost your leverage. I feel like he definitely lost his leverage. Now they're talking about he's about to be a free agent quarterback. That might not be the thing, and I'm getting my thought back. My thought was, when it comes to Big Jeff, now my boy Hainsworth went to Washington for the $100 million.
Yep, got the check.
Right.
Yep.
Now, you can get him on, he'll tell you himself. He didn't want to leave Tennessee. Tennessee, it was almost like a situation with A.J. Brown.
Yes.
They didn't offer him. He would have taken less than $100 million to stay here. We're just the defending AFC champs, so Big Jeff, to what you're saying, has to decide how much does it mean to him to get the paycheck. Because he's going to get paid regardless.
Yeah.
How much does it mean to stay here in Tennessee to help the Titans build, to be a part of this, be a part like what he started and all those things. And, those are the things that are going to factor in. But I don't know if I'm taking a hometown discount, and that's what would have to come here in Tennessee, I think.
Yeah, you got hometown discount for Jeff right now. As much as he loves this place and he's very prideful and loyal, you have to think of yourself at some point.
You can
as
always
a player.
move back.
Absolutely. We'll talk much more about the offseason once we're officially in the offseason. We've got one more game, possibly two, and if things are completely insane, maybe more, though we're not anticipating that. But there will be plenty of time for that conversation. Those 4.5 months between the end of the season, then you've got the combine in there, you've got the Senior Bowl in there, you've got the draft in there, a new GM's going to be hired. It will be wild. The VOT, the voice of the Titans, Mike Keith. Next hour, Ramon, Kayla, and Will. That's here on 104.5 The Zone.
It's 8:03. Good morning from the Superbook.com sports desk. I'm Robert Walsh. Thursday night football last night, you saw the Titans give their best effort, but in the end, it wasn't enough to overcome the Cowboys' firepower as they lose 27-13. The Titans were without bright spots, though, as Kevin Byard pulled down 2 interceptions to give him the franchise record in interceptions at 27. Also, Josh Dobbs, he's got some Titans fans feeling positive, and it's because of plays like this.
Dobbs takes the snap, looking, firing deep downfield. Man is there, and it's caught. McMath. Racy McMath makes the catch at the Dallas 32-yard line. Wright touches him down. That's the big play we've been waiting for from Racy McMath.
Josh Dobbs in his first career start went 20 for 39, 232, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. The Titans moved to 7-9, but next week is for all the marbles. And in the NBA, Grizzlies beat the Raptors 119-106. Ja Morant had 19 points and a career-high 17 assists. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Third quarter of this show on a bright, sunny, and should I say warm day?
Yeah.
Considering Mother
Let's
Nature
do
was
it.
trying to kill us last week.
It was beautiful last night at the game, despite the little showers.
Yeah.
I mean, it felt great.
Yeah, it did. Like, it was, like we were saying, felt like, but
Portland, like
Yep.
the Pacific Northwest. Yeah, just a little misty. Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone. I'm Jonathan Schaefer in for Will Bolling, who we will talk to in the 9 o'clock hour, who is sipping mimosas and loafing down in Miami today as he is covering the Orange Bowl. And his appearance will be presented by Brentwood Hearing Center and Superbook Sports. Mr. Monday Night, Titans legend, and a man whose number must be retired by this team, in my opinion. He is Keith Bulluck in for Ramon Foster. Kayla Anderson, who puts the big J in journalism and is also a capitalized BOSS. Boss. Despite the voice being a little froggy today.
Yeah, that's what you're going to get,
just
folks.
like this, you're just like this team, playing a little hurt.
That's how I am.
Gritty.
Yep.
Showing up.
Gritty as
for
hell
every
right
down.
here.
put in work.
Our favorite North Kakalaki redneck and the best substitute teacher in the world, Bert's back behind the glass today. Bert, we haven't given you a lot of opportunity to talk today. Is there anything you want to chime in real quick? All right. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, appreciate it. What's going on? I will say, I don't think we should call Randy Fat Randy anymore.
I didn't call him Fat Randy.
No,
I said don't call him Fat Randy.
No, not you. I just think in general, when people talk about him, they call him Fat Randy. I got to see him up close last night. I think he's regular Randy.
Well,
he just
lost
looks
some
like a
weight.
regular guy, man.
Yeah.
He's just a little shorter.
He is a
You
little.
know?
I think that's what makes him look a little rounder.
Sure.
Maybe round Randy. But
Stumpy?
I think Fat Randy is a little
Round
offensive.
is, I like round.
Round Randy.
I wouldn't call anybody
Not to their face.
Yeah.
You definitely ain't calling a female.
No,
That is like a
definitely
good one.
not.
What's crazy too is Caleb Shudak is smaller than Randy.
Yeah.
He's shorter than Randy.
Yeah.
I saw a Bullock jersey last night at the stadium. I was like, oh, that's cool.
Bull lock.
Yeah,
Yes. Full lock.
Dallas Cowboys 27, Tennessee Titans 13. Josh Dobbs made his first career start in over 6 years in the league. He's been a second stringer, third stringer, first career start, and it happened at Nissan Stadium where he made his last college appearance with the Tennessee Vols. Been a Titan for barely over a week, but a B-plus to B-level performance from Dobbs last night. 20 of 39, 233 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 3 carries for 12 yards, and 3 pass plays of 30 or more yards. Saw some flashes from the offense last night, but clearly not enough to get the job done, only 13 points. Cowboys let the Titans hang around. I said on Twitter last night that Dallas, with those turnovers, were entering the F around and find out zone, and they were right there, and they were still there even into the second half for a while until Dobbs threw an interception. Cowboys went in Unfortunately, they had some injuries in the offensive line, but they went in. They just wanted to get that game over with as fast as they could. But Dobbs got the start. And look, there was a lot of talk yesterday, and yes, Ryan Tannehill on IR now. Zach Cunningham's on IR, Bud Dupree is on IR. They will not be playing next week. They will not be playing this season moving forward. Malik got benched. That's what happened. They brought Dobbs in. Dobbs has now won this job as the starter for the foreseeable future this season, and he definitely earned it last night.
And you just wonder, like, how much of this was the entire plan when you go, I mean, it had to have been, this is what we were going to do way sooner than what we thought.
Yeah.
And you knew that Josh Dobbs could catch up on the playbook because he's just intellectually through the roof. Like, he's going to be an astronaut.
Yeah.
But I think that we saw some life in that offense last night, and we haven't seen that in a bit. And I think Titans fans, that kind of gave them a little bit of hope heading into next week, where it's for all the marbles. It's to go to the playoffs. It's to win to the division, and to know that you're going to get some of your starters back, including Derrick Henry. And now you have Joshua Dobbs that looks like he's capable enough to have drives moving. You say, okay, maybe this is possible. Whereas before this game, I think everybody was like, we're throwing in the towel.
Yeah, I mean, that's a question I was going to pose to you guys. There was a game time decision, game day decision. Obviously, maybe people around the locker room, obviously within the building, not in the building, because I know people in the building didn't know, but in the locker room, the players might know.
Yeah, Kayla,
Okay.
did I see this right? I thought I saw this to where Dobbs said he was informed after the Texans game that he was going to be starting the next week, and I'm of the mindset of, yeah, Dobbs was getting prepared to start, and they just weren't going to let it out and officially announce it until the day of the game.
Which is typical,
yeah,
right?
That's typically how it goes. So with that being said, is that, almost to the conversation we just had before the break, is that them start bringing in Dobbs, starting him after Malik goes out and kind of plays subpar, and that's our third time seeing him out there. Is that the writing on the wall that they're moving on from Malik? Because, look, Josh Dobbs, we've been saying for the past 2 hours, he's definitely he's proven in his first start that he can back up in this league, especially if he had a short week to prepare. He got in that first week, and obviously he's just trying to get acclimated being here. Got the Texans, not going to do much. Did he dress that first game? I don't even know who.
Yeah.
Who was the backup the Texans game?
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
He was?
It was Dobbs.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was
Well,
Dobbs.
cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Yeah.
great. He got to go through a game time, game week, and then it was great that they gave him the heads up. He got to get his mind right. He got to go through a full week of preparation.
Right.
And, something that he hasn't done since 2016 as a starter. It's unbelievable.
Wild.
To really think that. So, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is this like the final thing? Okay, well, this is J-Rob's pick, and now we're ridding of him. Like, is it all just dump on,
And the thing is, we don't know.
We don't know any, and it's like one decision after another that they have to make. I mean, I'm not joking. I could not even imagine. My head explodes trying to think about it, and that's why I'm not going to exactly right now. But that's the thing. Right now, it's Josh Dobbs and Malik.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah, for sure.
But after that, anything's on the table.
I go back to the beginning of the season. They're talking about Malik. We're hearing from training camp how Malik's looking. And they were already managing expectations coming out of that building, saying, look, it's a year. And I remember Jimmy White saying, maybe 2 years. And then you see him in the preseason, you're going, yeah, it's going to be a while, but this guy has to develop. But then Malik is named the backup, and Logan Woodside's the third quarterback, and he's on the practice squad. Whatever you may think of Logan Woodside,
and mind you, nobody beat him out.
Right.
Logan. All the guys they brought in last year.
Right.
Nobody beat him out.
My feeling is, okay, if this guy needs this much development, he can't be your backup quarterback.
Right.
He can't. And, of course, teams have gotten away from having three quarterbacks on the active roster like that because they don't want to give up that game day roster spot. But my feeling from the beginning was Malik's not your guy to be a backup now because he's not ready and he's showing that he's not ready.
Right.
So that's where I know you have to take advantage of any opportunity that you're given. You have to go out there and get it done just as Josh Dobbs did.
Yeah.
But that's where I have criticized the Titans before and will continue to do so, that I don't think that was the right approach with Malik. So with that said, and to going to what Keith just mentioned a moment ago, we don't know. We don't know that, was this a J-Rob guy or a Vrabel guy? That game is going to be played forever until we get into next year.
Right.
And no one's really going to have an honest answer because no one outside that building really knows.
Right. Well, if Malik was a Vrabel guy, Malik would have got the start. That's how I look at it. You know what I mean? But like you're saying, nobody knows. But one thing I do know is Miss Amy Adams-Strunk has everybody, especially the scouting department, on high alert. Y'all better bring some players in here because she's not seeing the product that she wants to see. You can't fool her. She's been around football for over 40 years. Now it's her team, and she wants to see a product that she's going to be proud of, especially when that nice stadium is, built out there, and, the team has to be a playoff contention team. That's not 7-9 or whatever the Titans are.
It's the most interesting and intriguing offseason since John Robinson was hired as general manager, and then they go and take a coach who went to the playoffs, and they then bring in Mike Vrabel. This is the most intrigue we've had in an offseason since then. Quickly, Travis in Dixon is on. Ramon, Kayla, and Will on 104.5 The Zone.
Good morning, guys. What's going on?
Hey,
Travis.
Yeah, you know what? On paper, we didn't win. Physically, we didn't win. But, in my heart, I looked at the game and said, this is really good because on Wednesday I called in and I was talking to Will and Ramon and Kayla. Hey, Kayla.
What's
up?
up?
They were like, everybody's like, so what do you got? And I said, I think we ought to play Dobbs.
Yeah.
I think we should put Dobbs in, let him play, and if he does good, he goes against the Jags. Will threw me under the bus.
That's Will. That's Will.
Man, it was good there this morning,
Yeah, that's Will. That's why he's not here today.
I wouldn't be there either, man. That's why he's not there.
And Dobbs is a ball, and Will still did that. Yeah.
I think, we had a couple of receivers drop a couple balls that were really good. But, this guy came in, 9 days ago, and he's in here doing this. And, man, I mean, potentially, if he goes out and wins this Jags game and takes us to the postseason, why should he not start next year? I mean, the guy's never started anywhere. Let him go. Let's see what he can do. I'm going to hang up. Y'all have a great day.
Appreciate it, Travis. And again, before we go to the break here, I don't think Dobbs is an everyday starter in this league. That's my feeling.
But I think they keep him around.
100%.
Create the competition.
100%.
Yeah, and create the competition.
Create the competition. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Also, a man who is never a doubt. He is the voice of the Titans. Mike Keith joins us next. Ramon, Kayla, and Will here on the final Friday of 2022 on 104.5 The Zone. We always bring him in with the Sopranos music because he is the Vought and the Don of Titans Radio. Welcome back in to Ramon, Kayla, and Will on 104.5 The Zone, the longest named sports talk radio show in the country. I'm Jonathan Schaefer in for Will Bolling, Keith Bulluck in for Ramon, Kayla here as always. The man that I just mentioned, the Vought, Mike Keith, joins us courtesy of Farm Bureau Health Plans. Need great health care coverage with an affordable price tag. Let Farm Bureau Health Plans coach you through it. They've been protecting Tennesseans for 75 years, and a quick turnaround for many of us, including this man, Mike Keith, from last night to this morning. Mike, good morning and Happy New Year.
Good morning and Happy New Year to you all.
Well, let's go to the obvious. Josh Dobbs, his performance in his first ever start in the NFL, only being with the team at that point for 8 days, playing in a stadium in which he had success in with the Tennessee Volunteers. Your assessment of the performance of Josh Dobbs?
Pretty doggone good. You know, that's what I would go with. I think all things considered, I think he played well. I think he brought a ton of energy, which is exactly what the football team needed, not just offense, but defense and everybody else. You know, there was some buzz with some plays that he made that kind of got things going. And I thought everybody sort of fed off of the energy and the excitement that he provided. Wasn't perfect. He certainly made a couple throws that he'd like to have back, as everybody would say. But all in all, I thought pretty doggone good for Joshua Dobbs.
Let's forget the loss for a second, and of course the players that were out trying to get healthy and preparing for next week. Because of Dobbs' performance, things around Titans Nation feel a lot more optimistic now than they did this time yesterday in regards to the divisional championship game against the Jags coming up.
Well, and a big part of the reason that they put Dobbs in the game was simply his experience and his operational knowledge of an NFL offense. When Josh Dobbs came out of Tennessee in 2017, he would have been in virtually the same position that Malik Willis was right now, being that he came out of an offense where they wanted to go fast, they didn't huddle, they didn't call plays, there weren't formations to call, there weren't protections to call, there weren't a lot of checks. And so that he gave them some speed. You know, they would pop out of the huddle right to the line, and they went with speed. And that's something that he has now at almost 28 years old that he would not have had in 2017. And it's what Malik's going through right now. It's really what every college quarterback goes through right now, because nobody runs a pro offense conventionally in terms of how they call things. A lot of these guys have never been under center, and they've certainly never called a play in the huddle, one that, you know, is as complicated as an NFL play. So Dobbs gave them speed, and he was able to go where the ball needed to go. He sat around and watched tape for 6 years. He's been with Ben Roethlisberger. He knows how this thing is supposed to look. It's experience. And you saw the experience last night. I mean, he took the Robert Woods throws. He made the good deep throw to Racey McMath. His timing on a screen was perfect. All of these things that come with experience, and knowing that Derrick Henry is going to be in the backfield next week in his hometown, as fresh as a daisy. Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, there's reason for optimism, no doubt. I mean, otherwise, if we were talking about a loss this morning and we were not putting it in terms of what it was based on who the Cowboys are and who they played, and who the Titans are at this moment and who they played, you know, it would kind of be loser talk. But instead, I think Mike Vrabel threaded the needle well. He played the game smart because he's got to have the one for next week, and yet he had the team that he had available ready to play, and it was 17-13 after 3 quarters against a team who might be a legitimate Super Bowl contender if they get rolling. They've won 12 games. So, I mean, I think all in all, you say, yeah, I mean, okay, I get it. I left there feeling differently than I came in, too. I understand how people feel.
Yeah, absolutely, Mike. Going into that game, actually waking up yesterday, I would say, because I was up at 5 a.m.
Oh, poor guy.
Nobody was thinking about Josh Dobbs starting or even playing last night. So when you got that news, how did that change? Did that change anything for you? And how exciting or how much fun did you have calling that game last night? Because before Josh Dobbs was named the starter, I feel like people were, and then just a bunch of excitement came over, Titans Nation and the city once they found out the former Vol was going to, take the helm.
Sure. And Keith, you know how that works because you know how people felt about Albert Haynesworth. I mean, the majority of the people listening to this show right now are Tennessee fans, and I'd say a majority of Titans fans are probably Tennessee fans. And so, yeah, I mean, it ties in. Dobbs is also incredibly beloved by the entire university sort of world, if you will, in terms of Tennessee, not just the athletic department world, but the entire university because of what he meant on campus overall to not just the College of Engineering, but what he meant to the chancellor and what he's done afterwards with the Alumni Association. This is a guy who is a beloved Vol. And so he is differently than if they had put Tyler Bray in. No offense to Tyler Bray, but the point being that's a little bit of a change overall that kind of excites people in a different way because this is a guy on a different plane, and I understand that. And so, yeah, it's fun. But you don't know what you're going to get. I mean, he's played 39 career snaps entering the game. Right. Malik Willis has played more NFL football than Joshua Dobbs has in terms of regular season games. You don't know how it's going to go. So that's also part of the excitement. You're saying, could you have lightning in a bottle here? Could you have a guy who waits on his turn? And I thought about the guy on the other side of the field, Cooper Rush for Dallas, who has to play in a situation where, early in the season, Dak Prescott can't go, and he goes 4-1. So maybe do you have that guy? Do you have that change-up who can make a difference? And maybe the Titans do. So, yeah, I mean, it was fun. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It was fun to see it. It was fun to experience it. It was fun to hear all of the chatter. And it's been fun to read a lot of the comments and hear a lot of, hear a lot of the comments already by Titans fans who are very excited about Dobbs. Why not?
And I thought it was really encouraging, Mike, after the game when Josh Dobbs was at the podium and was asked on the spot, obviously, what things are you focused on improving next week? Not a lot of quarterbacks can go and pretty much just list everything that he already knew he had to fix situationally, he said specifically, and then just listed things and immediately said, I'm super excited to dive into the film. This is a guy who, like you said, very smart guy, is already knowing what he did. And that's, I guess, puts confidence in people too, knowing that, okay, he's going to get in the film room. He's going to try to fix those problems ASAP.
Dave McGinnis makes a lot of great points, Kayla, but one of the best points that I thought that he made overall is this is a guy who's been earning a check as an NFL quarterback for 6 years. Mm-hmm. And they're not just handing out those checks based on the fact that you're a good person or you're fun to be with. You've got to be a special person to be allowed to stay in those rooms for those periods of time because they see potential in you and they understand that you have the ability to process. You get the job. That's what you're talking about. Josh Dobbs is like, I'm a professional quarterback. So maybe it is that I have not appeared in a lot of NFL games.
Right.
But as a professional quarterback, my level of expectation is it's time to go back to work. And so I mean, part of the challenge he's going to have, without question, is Jacksonville will have time to adjust to him now.
Right.
I bet Dallas had to watch some Tennessee film to figure out. I mean, realistically, they probably had to have somebody in their office look back at some stuff and say, what is it he does again? Because it's been a long time. Well, Jacksonville's now got real tape, and they're going to see how Todd Downing called plays for him. And they're going to see, I mean, there's going to be more challenge next time around, if he is indeed the starter, because the bottom line is now they have tape on him, and he'll make adjustments. He'll do the things that he needs to do to get better, and he'll also have Derrick Henry.
Mike, so do you think this is the best possible situation that the Titans can be going into a championship game, last game of the season, on an 0-6 skid? Is this the best, possible scenario that you could have foreseen? Because I feel like a lot of Titans fans are happy. You sound very normal, very even keel, and I think that, the Titans in a loss, in my opinion, actually gained some momentum going into this game.
Keith, I said last night, it felt like the pilot light was relit on their furnace. That looked like the Titans last night. That was the type of effort, not that they hadn't been giving great effort, but there was an enthusiasm. When the defense went back on the field, it's like, yeah, I want to go back on the field and get after these guys. They weren't going out to be defensive. They were taking it to the Dallas offense. The offense had some pep and had some rhythm. They were covering kicks. They did a lot of things in the ball game that look very familiar. So in a weird way, I mean, following your point, for a team on a 6-game losing streak going into a must-win game against a hot team, what they gave in an undermanned situation certainly gave them a lot more momentum than had they been beaten 52-7 last night.
Yes,
which is what kind of everybody was calling for. I mean, there were people in the press box making jokes about, will there be a running clock like in high school, or and I get it. I mean, it was a bad situation in terms of the matchup on paper, but in watching them practice, I was like, this team's got bounce. They're excited. A lot of those guys. I mean, you can't tell me Jack Gibbons isn't excited to get a chance to play, and he showed that in Monty Rice, and I mean, you've got some guys that are like that who are coming back too. Danico Autry has that swagger about him, and he'll be more healthy when he comes back against Jacksonville. Those are the sorts of things that make you say, okay, I mean, we can do this, and let's go get after it.
What is it with Kevin Byard and the Cowboys? It's just incredible. KB, one of the few starters that was out on the field, he said at the beginning of the week it was important that he was out there. I know that did a lot for those guys that were stepping in. They said having him out there, that presence was big. But then for him to have 2 INTs early on.
Well, I think the mayor wants to make sure and show everybody who he is, and he knows that if we're going anywhere, he's got to make plays. Now, that's the whole thing with Kevin Byard. I mean, if we're going to have a chance to win a ball game next week in what is going to be an incredible situation, probably the biggest home game for Jacksonville since their playoff game against Buffalo 5 years ago. I mean, it's going to be crazy there, particularly if the game's at night. The guys you pay all the money to, the guys who are on the billboards around town, the guys whose pictures are on the side of the stadium, those are the people who have to come to play.
Yep.
I mean, it was never, ever going to be John Paxson taking the last shot for the Chicago Bulls. It's about the Michael Jordans, and that's what it comes down to in these situations. Our people who are our leaders are going to be the ones who have to make the plays. And, to see Byard do that last night just reminds you, he makes the 2 big plays and suddenly we're back in the game. That's who Kevin Byard is.
Yep.
And that's what he means to our football team, particularly with our situation right now in the secondary with all the injuries. But, again, hopefully Amani Hooker's back for this ball game to pair with Byard.
Well, you mentioned Amani Hooker. That's one of the names we'll be looking at. Of course, Derrick Henry, we would be expected to come back. Danico Autry, Christian Fulton, Big Jeff, NPF, Amani. We posed the poll question yesterday during the show and had almost 1,500 votes in 3 hours. Regarding the Titans, would you rather have division title / playoffs or a higher draft pick? and 56.2% said division title / playoffs. And Mike, I know it sounds a little cliche, and even with the losing streak and all the negative things that have happened, I think you said it very succinctly. The pilot light relit last night. And if we are to project, because we have that liberty to do so, I think if you can win that game against Jacksonville, you're playing at home against Nissan Stadium. There may be a few more favorable matchups there in a first-round playoff game than some may suggest.
Sure. I mean, it's the tournament.
Right.
You know, I mean, every year a 14 beats a 3 in March. You know, every year a 12 beats a 5 or multiple 12s beat 5s. It doesn't mean anything once you get in the tournament. It doesn't mean one thing. Our best playoff run in 20 years came when we finished the regular season 9-7. So, I mean, who cares? You know, last year Cincinnati was 10-7 when they got in, and you know they should have won the Super Bowl. They were in control of the Super Bowl. So it's about getting in the tournament. I mean, you play to win the Super Bowl. You play for championships, and if you told me that my first opportunity to call a Super Bowl win came on the heels of an 8-9 season, fine. That's
no
fine.
one remembers the record anyway.
I don't care. It's just like everybody's like, well, if you ever get to win one, don't you want the Super Bowl to be in? No, I couldn't care less if the Super Bowl was in Antarctica. to win the Super Bowl, and if people listening, I get, you know, you want a high draft pick. I love the draft. When we get to that, I'll get to that. But it is so hard to win in this league, and you never know when your moment is going to happen. You know, what happens if the top 2 seeds get beat early, you know, and suddenly you're the 4 seed, or 1, 2, and 3 get beat, and you're the 4 seed hosting the AFC Championship game. Anything can happen if you get in the tournament. We have to get in the tournament. That's all I care about right now. And anything else takes care of itself much later. I would much rather be picking 32nd than 10th.
Mike said Antarctica because that's what it felt like on Christmas Eve. Look to the folks at Farm Bureau Health Plans when you need someone who knows the health coverage game plan. They've been protecting Tennesseans for 75 years. Mike, appreciate it as always. We'll talk to you next week.
Hey, Happy New Year, guys.
Happy New Year.
Thanks, Mike. You
And
too.
Mike, go Vols. Mike Keith, the voice of the Titans, and the Vols will be playing tonight in the Orange Bowl, in the orangiest, most orangey of Orange Bowls.
Orange.
Yeah, we're just having fun. Between Clemson and the Vols tonight. When we come back, we will have your Maryland Farms tailgate tip or New Year's Eve tip or however you want to say it, as we will be heading into 2023 very soon. Will Bolling will join us in the next hour to talk about the Vols as well. I'm Jonathan Schaefer in for Will, Keith Bulluck in for Ramon Foster. Kayla Anderson is here because nobody replaces Kayla.
Nah.
Kayla never takes a day off.
Nah.
Bert in the other studio, and she is a boss with a capital BOSS. As you're listening to Ramon Kayla and Will on 104.5 The Zone.
Dobbs has a little time. Fires, gets it to Woods at the 4. Woods into the end zone. Touchdown! Titans! Joshua Dobbs takes the Titans home, and the ball game continues on.
As Mike Keith told us in the last segment, last night was the night the pilot light was relit. That is his estimation of Josh Dobbs' contribution to the Titans in his first ever career start. Welcome back into Ramon, Kayla, and Will on 104.5 The Zone. I'm Jonathan Schaefer in for Will Bolling. Keith Bulluck in for Ramon Foster. Kayla Anderson, the BOSS, the boss, in studio today, and playing hurt, hanging in there. The voice a little rough from last night.
Sorry, peeps.
No, there's nothing to apologize about. It just shows you don't go on IR.
You don't complain.
There's no IR. You don't complain.
IR is not a possibility.
I'm the complainer.
Yo. Like when I had hernia surgery, y'all, because I was carrying around a big bulky camera for so long, I was on IR for like 5 days, and I'm like, I'm back, and they're like, yeah, and you're laid off.
You had hernia surgery from that?
Twice.
Yo, you know what? That's crazy because I used when I was playing, I used to always remember the female reporters always carrying they got the camera,
the battery,
like a big ass camera.
Yeah, that's what I shot with.
It's you're shooting it all by yourself. You got the camera on your shoulder with the mic in the face, and you're asking the question. That's
and
crazy.
That was only like 4 years into my career. The first one I shot for 10 years.
I feel like that was like the rite of passage for you ladies to move on to the next step.
And I was damn proud of it.
Yeah,
that's what's up.
That's right.
That's what's up. You know what you should be proud of? Our tailgate tip.
Yeah.
Also known as our New Year's Eve tip. Brought to you by Maryland Farms Wine and Spirits, 101 Creekside Crossing in Brentwood by the Publix. We'll add an S to the end of the X in the Publix. And you can go to the website marylandfarmsws.com. So our tip for this week, of course, this is the final Friday of the year. So we've got New Year's coming up in just a couple of days. You want to ring in the New Year tomorrow, Music City Bowl tomorrow, a lot of things going on. College football playoff going on, the semifinals coming up, which means it is the official stance of this show. One word, frog.
Frog.
For TCU. The French 75. Now, what this is 1.5 ounces of gin, like it already. 3/4 ounce of fresh lemon juice.
Yum.
Like it too. 3/4 ounce of simple syrup.
Okay.
Shake and pour. Oh, Kayla's starting to be very happy with this.
That's right.
Top with champagne.
Let's go.
Garnish with lemon twist.
Okay, I'm all in.
Kayla's all in.
Give me one right now.
I don't like gin.
You don't like gin?
Had a bad
Keith
experience
was
in
out,
college.
like, the first.
Yeah, once you said my wife is the big gin drinker. She actually likes that drink, the French 75.
Oh.
I'd never had an actual gin and tonic literally until a couple of months ago. Liked it so much I had two.
Come on, bro. Like,
That's what I grew up
you know
on.
what? It was the gin and juice thing. Yeah, gin and juice, and then in a puddle of vomit, I was done.
So it was like one time, never again.
Sounds like a heavy metal band.
Like we just had that phase in college. We're drinking Tanqueray, and actually Seagram's gin to me was the best gin.
That's pretty good.
The
Not bad.
Tanqueray was just like too piney, I think, and I
Yeah.
just had a bad. And then you
Aftertaste.
don't really know how to drink in college, so you just keep drinking, and then you throw up. And then it's like, it's the gin. No, it's just you drank too much. But.
Yeah, you do what Ramon Foster did, and you get drunk and you throw up in front of the owner of the Steelers prior to the Super Bowl in your second year.
Wow.
Oh, you didn't know that story. See, I didn't know if you heard that story or not.
That is awesome.
Yeah, Ramon threw up in front of the owner of the team.
That was like Jägermeister for me.
At least he didn't throw up on the Roonies.
Hot take.
Yeah.
I like Jaeger. A lot of people don't like Jaeger. I actually like Jaeger.
I didn't dislike it till I did it overboard.
So I don't do it. I have to do the Jaeger bomb, and it's only like a couple.
I'm with you.
A couple few.
Yeah, but it's two. It's two. I can only do like two.
Yeah,
and then
a couple few.
Couple
two,
few.
Sometimes maybe three.
Right.
Yeah.
Keep it pushing. Couple few.
And then I'm of the feeling that if you're more than three, you're in it to win it, which is the way it should be. So the French 75, ounce and a half of gin, 3/4 ounce fresh lemon juice, 3/4 ounce simple syrup, shake and pour, top with champagne, garnish with the lemon twist. And that is courtesy of our friends at Maryland Farms. That is the perfect drink for you to ring in the new year. Find out more at MarylandFarmsWS.com. 101 at Creekside Crossing in Brentwood by the Publix down there. Four's up, fourth quarter of the show. Coming your way, Will Bolling sipping on a mimosa in Miami.
I doubt it.
I doubt it. He says.
You think he's drinking one this early?
Yeah.
Maybe a Shirley Temple.
Oh,
Yeah,
Shirley Temple.
I'll
That's
go
funny.
with that.
Or Roy Rogers.
I'll say this. If there was an English Premier League soccer game going on right now, he'd definitely be drinking this early.
He does the cider mimosa.
Cider's good. Cider mimosa's good.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong.
Not going to knock it because I haven't tried it.
Yeah.
Right?
Which means we got to try it next time
After
he
the
comes to
show.
studio. After the show. Ramon, Kayla, and Will rolls on 104.5 The Zone.
9:01, good morning from the Superbook.com sports desk. I'm Robert Walsh. Titans gave it their best effort last night, but in the end, it was not enough as they fell to the Cowboys 27-13. The Titans weren't without bright spots, though. Kevin Byard pulled down 2 interceptions, making him the franchise leader in the category with 27. Also, Josh Dobbs, in his first career start, went 20 for 39, 232, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and got Titans fans feeling kind of good because of plays like this.
13 seconds left in the half. Dobbs dropping, looking, firing, completing it to Mertz, who's run out of bounds. No, he stays on his feet. He's at the 20. He's at the 15. He's inside the 10, and he's tackled with 2 seconds left. Timeout, Tennessee.
Titans fall to 7-9, but next week is for all the marbles. In the loss, Titans lose safety Andrew Adams to a torn patella. Adams has started 10 of 12 games for the Titans, amassing 60 tackles and 1 interception that was returned for a touchdown. And in the NBA, Grizzlies beat the Raptors 119-106. John Moran had 19 points and a career-high 17 assists. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
.903, the final hour of Ramon, Kayla, and Will in the calendar year that is 2022. When we talk to you again, it'll be 2023, and a beautiful start to the day today with sunshine, nice warm temperatures in the high 50s. Go out and enjoy it, people, because remember, Mother Nature tried to kill us last weekend.
Yes.
Yes, it did.
Keith Bulluck, Titans legend, Mr. Monday Night, who still had one more interception in a game than Kevin Byard did yesterday. He's
Still
in
has
for
time.
he's in for Ramon Foster. We call her the boss, or at least we started last night, BOSS in capital letters. Kayla Anderson putting the big J in journalism here on the show.
Yo.
I'm Jonathan Schaefer, the best producer in the world, filling in for Will Bolling here this morning. We'll talk to Will.
There it is.
There you go.
And that is the best substitute teacher in the world, and our favorite North Kakalaki redneck, who is very sleepy after he worked with Westwood One last night.
Yeah.
He is Robert Walsh, or we call him Bert, also known as Bert. Good morning, Robert.
What's going on, man? I got to be honest with y'all. I don't know how y'all walk around that stadium so many times. I got chub rubbed so bad last night. I had to sleep like spread eagle so my legs did not like touch each other, or there would have been a fire underneath my blanket.
So you got a little chafed down there last night?
I've got a little chafe down there last night. Hey, now watch out, kids. I'm going back here.
What about the bloody nipples? Were they okay?
The bloody nipples were okay, but next time just don't twist so much, all right, buddy?
Okay, just one word, Vaseline. That takes care of a lot of that.
I understand about the stadium situation because, I go to wherever I'm sitting.
Yep.
And then it's like someone be like, oh, I'm club level 264. So I'm like,
Yep.
all right, I'll come check you out real quick before it gets hectic halftime. I can't find that. And then my feet are starting to hurt. And then it's like I'm on the side. I'm like, my car is right here.
Yes.
Go find 264. My car, I'm out.
It's a real deal because yesterday I got to the stadium about 4, put my stuff up in the press box, which is already a check.
Yeah.
And then you go down to the field, doing some stuff with News 2, and then had to be back outside gate 1 for the pregame show at 5.
Yeah.
And then realized I had to go all the way back outside the stadium, back to the media gate to get back down for the field and then
It's an
back up.
exercise. You probably had
Holy
heels
smokes.
on, too.
I had some little, boots with a little bit of heel. Man, got in my steps.
No exercise for you yesterday, Chef?
Exercise yesterday? No, not yesterday, because I prepared for the game by taking a very long nap in the afternoon.
Nice. You needed your energy.
Oh, yeah, because and Kayla was out longer than I was, but when I looked at that clock last night and saw 11:45, I went, "Oh boy, it is a Celsius morning." The next morning, that's for sure. Exercise today, definitely.
I think I'll get something in today.
Yeah, because we got the sunshine out, and it's going to be a nice day. I know we've got rain coming in through a little bit later on, but it should be a nice day today. And last night, Cowboys 27, Titans 13. The Cowboys, they were deciding to F around and find out for a little bit by turning the ball over 3 times. Kevin Byard, as I mentioned earlier, with 2 interceptions that allowed the Titans to be within 4 points. And the Titans were within 1 or 2 scores for the game last night, lost by 14. But as we've said, Josh Dobbs' first ever career start, had only been with the team for 8 days, 20 of 39, 232 yards, a touchdown, unfortunately an interception, also had 3 carries for 12 yards. But we saw some sparks on offense, and as Mike Keith said, it feels like the pilot light of this offense and maybe even the team, because of the current 6-game losing streak, got relit. And I wanted to know if that is a similar opinion from each of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sitting here as you're speaking, thinking about one of our first callers asking, where were the leaders that weren't playing? Were they on the field? Where were they at? And, we don't know where they were. I said that I felt they should be out there because Kevin Byard was out there in uniform going ham. He really is part of that spark, and it's tough to be that player, to answer the bell all the time. You know what I mean? Of course, when you're that player, you got a mark on you. They're game planning for you. They're trying to avoid you. They're actually trying to put you in situations to make you look bad. And for, KB to be able to give that spark when you heard him speak after last week's game, he didn't even think that, it's sometimes in this sport and in a lot of sports, you just are at a loss for words, especially when the media comes for you. And I would say he was kind of at a loss for words for where do we go from here last Sunday. Then Monday, he came with a different energy and gets back to work every week. And this is the first time that he's going through such a long losing streak. And the reason why I'm spending a lot of time on him, because the way I started was because we know who the other leaders are, but this guy was out there, always answers the bell, and that's true professionalism. And I think that Mike Keith definitely spoke on him. That's who he is, and it's not. These guys throw those terms around these days. Oh, I'm him. I'm the man. Nah, you're not. But Kevin Byard definitely is, and he's proved it ever since he's been here. But in my opinion, definitely solidified last night for being there when he didn't have to be.
Yeah, and when you saw the prime, kind of advertisement yesterday, it was Dak Prescott and it was Kevin Byard.
Yeah.
And when he had that first interception, which it kind of was coughed up, regardless, it's an interception. And then the second one where he jumped right in front of the defender. It just triggered in my mind oh, yeah. And it brought me back to that advertisement, with Kevin Byard right there. He knew what he had to do, and he did everything he could do out there last night. And I didn't expect anything less from Kevin Byard in a moment like that. On the other side, when you talk about lighting the pilot light, like Mike had mentioned, Joshua Dobbs did that.
Yeah.
And you heard in the voices of those players in the locker room last night that was kind of the case. And Corey Curtis of News 2 made a good point at the game last night covering it. Said, bottom line is the Titans playmakers know they can actually get the football.
Yes.
And that's a great point.
Yeah. And 39 pass attempts from Josh Dobbs, and you're sitting here going, wait, what? This doesn't happen in a Titans game. Of course, Derrick Henry out last night because they want to keep him healthy for next week against Jacksonville. But, Keith, we saw glimpses of an offense that you would have a lot more faith in as a Titans fan.
Yeah, and definitely. And you would think that you would have that confidence and stuff when Ryan Tannehill's in there as well. And I was just thinking back to maybe earlier in the season when the Titans were a little healthier. And it might go to the play call. I don't know what it goes to, but I can't remember when Ryan Tannehill really was asked to pass 39 times. And, of course, last night there was no Derrick Henry So
the best offensive game this year was the Green Bay game.
Right.
Yeah, that was the best offensive game.
Right.
And there were a few times last night that reminded me. And look, let's be real. It was 13 points last night. We're not going to blow this out of proportion. Okay?
Right,
Let's just be honest about this.
Yeah.
But because the offense,
we're happy about seeing 13 points.
I mean, that's the
crazy.
thing. The bar has been very low. The bar has been set so low with this offense this year because the way things have turned out is that Malik has struggled. Ryan's been battling injuries all year, and he really has been a warrior fighting through everything that he has. Yes, Derek's been one of the top rushers in the league and has looked pretty much like Derrick Henry throughout. But this is the word going into next week that I think at least a little bit, for one night only perhaps, hope. Hope got restored last night, which sounds weird that it occurred during a 14-point loss and was the 6th straight loss for a team that hasn't lost 6 straight during Mike Vrabel's entire tenure with the Titans.
So I wonder what the conversation is. I wonder what's the attitude next week, when the interviews start and the guys are talking about, going to Jacksonville, because like you said, this is for it all. There's no such thing as bulletin board talk and stuff like that. It's either you feel if you're going to go down there or win, or, it's going to be a real good game. We're going to, what are we going to do?
The beginning of the game, Kayla, felt like a preseason game, and it felt like there was a lull and all those things, but you didn't feel that way at the end of the game. And with the guys that were in there, and again, Monty Rice starting to look like the player we expected coming out of Georgia.
Just talking to Keith about that.
And also Dr. Gibbons, who is starting to make a name for himself here as an undrafted free agent. You have hope. You have a little bit of energy. The feeling around the locker room, Kayla, your estimation last night being in there.
It was, first of all, it was a lot of names that, you're not used to going to after a game and interviewing. I'm not going to lie. We were like, who do you go to first? I think we went to DeMarcus Walker because he was in his locker room. He's been great.
He's had a good season.
He's been great with us. He's an honest guy. He'll just say what's on his mind. And that's the first thing he said is I'm proud of the way we all fought. We all want to win. Let's not get that twisted. Rashad Weaver also a guy that's we want to win, but is proud of what they were able to put out there with what they had. And it does give you a little of, I know it's weird to say momentum, but to know there's a spark, there's something new that you can kind of look as a defensive player specifically and say, yo, okay, Josh Dobbs, you gave us a little bit of hope.
Yeah. And let's see what that hope is going into next week because, again, now Jacksonville has a week of tape.
Right. And to say what you were saying, they want to win, of course, you go in thinking, we want to win. Hey, but there's always a realism that when you're outnumbered and things have to go right. We have to get some turnovers. We have to get off the field on third down. We want to do everything in our power not to be embarrassed out here, because that you're undermanned. All these different things. And that's why I say the Cowboys aren't going to go far because you have to go for it against a team like the Titans when it's 4th and 2 and you're up 7-0. You have to kind of, put a fork in them early or what's going to happen? All these third stringers are going to start making plays on first down. Then they're going to make plays on third down. Then you're going to get your turnover. Then the offense gets momentum. Now a team that came into the stadium with confidence, okay, we can win any given Sunday, but they know they're outmatched.
Yeah.
Now you got a team you're in a dogfight, and you're supposed to be one of the best teams in the league going against a team that lost 5 games in a row. And now that's what I say, the analogy playing with your food. If you're that good as the Cowboys, you got to come in and handle your business.
Well, as we said yesterday, the only way the Titans were going to be able to compete in this game is if Dallas turned the ball over. So the Titans, who had struggled getting takeaways this year, were able to get some takeaways. Now, I think Dallas's turnovers were more self-inflicted on their part than the Titans causing them. But as you know very well, Keith, 3 to 5 plays in a game can completely turn a game.
Yeah, and the same reason the Cowboys lost to Jacksonville in Jacksonville is the same reason the Titans were in the game and were able to play with them, because they lost the game in Jacksonville because pass went off of one of the receivers' hands and Jacksonville ran it back for a touchdown.
Right into the defender's hands and pick six. Yep.
So just self-inflicted wounds, and good teams aren't going to do that too often, and Dallas does it way too much.
Yep.
A man who has his name in the show title, Will Bolling, live from Miami as we talk Orange Bowl. The Phenom is next on 104.5 The Zone. Well, this was before he slapped somebody.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
He doesn't have to cuss to sell records. He has to slap people to sell records.
Well, he cussed out Chris Rock that night, that's for sure. Keep somebody's name out of your mouth is what he said. Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 at The Zone. Keith Bulluck in for Ramon Foster. Kayla Anderson, who's always here, doesn't take a day off. She is the boss, B-O-S-S, of this show. Welcome to Miami means we are bringing in Will Bolling, who joins us courtesy of Brentwood Hearing Center and Superbook Sports, live from Miami. And Will, first of all, good morning. Happy New Year. And we set the over-under on alcoholic drinks for your tailgating this morning at 1.5. Are you over or under that total?
Currently, I am at a half. So I am.
We won! We won!
But at least he started. That's what's important. He at least started. All right, so if you're at half, you're half of what?
We've got a little pina colada here. There's a little fruit floating inside. Pretty good one. I'm cheersing my family as I say this.
Hey,
but
tell our favorite Bolling we said hello.
I will. Claire, Jonathan Schaefer says, tell my favorite Bolling. Yeah, there we go. As well. No, but we it's been a good morning though, and with the planes, trains, and automobiles we had to take to get here yesterday, it was a little bit of a later morning today getting started, but that's all right.
That was going to be my first question. I wanted to hear about the journey.
Me too.
Because you once we hit off air, you said your goodbyes and you were out of that parking lot.
Deuces.
Yeah, we made it. But it was like, go to the Nashville airport, get a rental car, leave the Nashville airport, drive to Atlanta, which took about like 4.5 hours, maybe. We were pushing 5. We were pretty much right at 5 hours,
Traffic.
Which honestly was a little bit less than we expected. And then we got there, and we literally got to the gate. And somehow our gate was actually like in the main terminal of the Atlanta airport, which is very rare. Like we didn't have to take one of the trains to get to the gate, which we're like, oh, this is great. And the second we sat down, it was a 30-minute delay, and then another 30-minute delay. So it was kind of funny because we like rushed to get there, and then we would have not had to hurry had we known it would have been a later flight. But worked out. It eventually got through a rental car line around the time that Joshua Dobbs was stealing the hearts of America last night around the second quarter, and then pretty much like got to Fort Lauderdale where we're staying with about like 12 minutes to go in the fourth. So it was a long day, but we're making it, and we're at half a drink now, and that number will continue as the day continues.
Well, before we get further into the Orange Bowl tonight, and Vol Network coverage begins at 5 o'clock right here on 104.5 The Zone, quickly your thoughts on Josh Dobbs and the Titans from yesterday.
I thought he was great, and honestly, he exceeded my expectations, and, I was wrong, right? I mean, we talked about it earlier this week that I didn't think that he could come in and do what he did on just a couple days of prep.
Trust me, Travis and Dixon called in and told you how wrong you were in your absence today. Yeah.
And that is his God-given right this morning, as I was. And, I thought it was impressive. I do think that it's always difficult to say that you feel like the play calling was really good when you only scored 13 points. I actually thought the play calling was pretty solid, and building around Dobbs and allowing him to be at his best. And I can't say I've seen two tight ends beside the left tackle chipping at the same time against Micah Parsons or against anybody to help out Dennis Daly last night, but it worked. And, it allowed Dobbs to be a little bit more creative and get outside the pocket. So, he was confident. I thought he was pretty accurate down the field, and I think we're talking about an even better day for him and maybe even the Titans offense if they catch a couple more footballs for him too.
Just give you more confidence for the Titans going into the Jacksonville game next week that they can go down there and get this win.
I definitely have more confidence than I did. Honestly, I mean, it feels like he can go in there and be successful with Derrick Henry in that offense. I'm just interested to see how much of the offense goes back to one that is centered around Derrick and centered around the downhill running game a little bit more, because they obviously abandoned that last night. Once you could kind of tell that Hassan Haskins was not going to have a lot of success against that defensive front running downhill. So I'm kind of fascinated to see what they come up with in another week and 10 days. And, Mike Vrabel only has the one loss with more than 7 days to prepare, and that was earlier this year against the Bengals since he's been the head coach of the Titans. So it feels like the more time Josh Dobbs has to study his playbook like he used to study, equations and things that are way over all of our heads, we'll see what the next step is for him next week.
Let's switch over to the college side because you are in, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, wherever you want to say. But the Vols taking on Clemson tonight, a big orange party. What's the atmosphere like down there?
A lot of UT fans. We've seen a lot of Pantone 151C so far this morning.
There we go.
And not the purple and orange and not the purple overalls yet. But no, I think there's a lot of excitement. I think there's a lot of just interest in seeing what Tennessee can do, and big opportunities for a couple of guys specifically from the mid-state. You talk about Wesley Walker from Innsworth, who it looks like he's going to get the start at safety tonight for Tennessee, and then Walker Merrill from Brentwood High School right down the road, who probably has a much bigger role as that fourth wide receiver behind Ramel Keaton, Brew McCoy, and Squirrel White in this game. So I think that's the thing I'm most interested in. And that's the thing most of the conversations have been about just around here is, what does that wide receiver group look like, and what does that equation kind of turn out to for Joe Milton tonight?
Look, Josh Heupel said that this is going to be a quarterback battle in the spring, but you have to probably think to yourself, and I want your honest opinion on this, like, is this Joe Milton's kind of, I guess he's got to go out there and do what he's got to do to win that? Audition in a way?
Right, and I've thought a lot about that, of what would make this a successful game for Joe, and what would make this a good, experience for him, right? I think if he wins this football game, he takes a major step forward to cement the fact that he can beat good teams. And ultimately, I think if Tennessee wins, this game is a success for him. Even if he misses some of the downfield passes and is inaccurate in the ways that we've seen him be inaccurate in the past, just win the game, right? Yeah. So I feel like at his age, it's hard to recreate yourself. It's hard for him to really be something else at this point in his career, but he's got no excuses in this game. He's had time to prepare as the starter. He's got Darnell Wright on that offensive line. Him not opting out, I think, is a big conversation point, like Jason Swain told us yesterday. So he's got his impact blocker. He's got Brew McCoy and Squirrel White, and the guys that he's worked with in practice with the twos are the guys who are going to be playing in this game that he's got the most chemistry with. So the thing to me that's interesting, Kayla, is do they run him more because they have a scholarship quarterback that's the backup in this game? Because against Vanderbilt, Navy Schuler and Gaston Moore were the two guys who would have come in if something had happened to Joe Milton. You didn't have any scholarship quarterbacks in the depth chart. You've got Taven Jackson back in this game tonight, the freshman from Indiana, and you've got the opportunity to maybe take a few more risks. Probably not anything crazy, but I think you might see Joe use his legs more and get outside the pocket more than you did against Vanderbilt, really for that reason.
Will Bolling live from Fort Lauderdale as the Orange Bowl tonight in Miami. Vol Network coverage begins at 5 o'clock here on 104.5 The Zone. Was coverage that you will hear all day long, presented by Brentwood Hearing Center and Superbook Sports. Will, I've been thinking about this with the Vols in terms of what does it mean if the Vols win and what does it mean if the Vols lose, and how much of a difference does that really matter moving forward?
Yeah, I think it really matters for Joe Milton and for the whole team and the legacy of this group. I don't know if there really is a difference because I think the legacy of this Tennessee team has been set in stone since they got that 10th win. I think since they beat Alabama and since they ended streaks against rivals that had lasted way too long for this program, you can already make the case that this team will always be remembered, regardless of what happens tonight, as the group that brought Tennessee back to prominence. So a win or a loss over Clemson doesn't really change the 30,000-foot view of the way you look at the 2022 Tennessee team. But I do think a win helps you more than a loss hurts you because you don't have anything to lose against a perennial power over the playoff era in Clemson that is usually playing for national championships. And you could make the argument that if they'd started Cade Klubnik for longer this season, they would be playing for a national championship starting tomorrow in the semifinals. So you have that out that you don't really have anything to lose in this game. You've got a backup quarterback. You don't have your dudes at wide receiver. And although Clemson might not have two of their top defensive players, it is certainly Tennessee missing more than what Clemson is on the defensive side. So I think it's interesting, and I think the one legacy that can be changed the most really is Joe Milton's when you look at the competition he has for the starting quarterback job going into next season.
That being said, this has been a great year for the Vols, especially, for where they've been the last decade or so. You know what I'm saying? So does this put added pressure on the program to, is this the new bar that Heupel has set for the program? Is that how Vols Nation is thinking of? Obviously, we won't know until next year, but is that kind of like in the back of the heads of Vols Nation?
I think it absolutely is, Keith. And I think at this point, you're going to be expecting to win games that your program has not won in over a decade. I mean, you think about next year when this Tennessee team goes to the Swamp, they're going to be expected to beat Florida, which is something they haven't done since Tennessee's current players were in elementary school. Like that is going to be the new benchmark, and that's something that these kids have never seen Tennessee do in their adult lives, right? So, you're going to be expected to not only compete with Alabama, but get them every now and then in Tuscaloosa and be closer to them on the road. And when Georgia comes to Knoxville, you're going to have the expectation now of, hey, we're going to finish this night like we did against Alabama last year, 52-49, and just hope that maybe the home atmosphere and the home field advantage makes up the talent gap between those two teams because, yeah, Tennessee recruited well, but there is still quite a talent gap next season between Georgia and Tennessee, especially with what the Bulldogs have added at wide receiver and the transfer portal. So it certainly kind of moves the goalposts a little bit, and really if Tennessee is going to be at the same level next season, if Joe Milton is the guy, I think we can confidently say they're not going to have the same skill level at quarterback next year. It's impossible to expect that they will when Hendon Hooker was, a guy that was fit for the Heisman and probably should have been a finalist. So if you don't have the same skill level at quarterback, where are you making up that gap to at least be equally good next year as you were this year? So is that a defense that's more experienced and more talented? Probably, but are they that much better to make up for the gap that they're going to have at quarterback from 22 to 23 next year? Probably not. So you got to be better up front. You're going to have to be better in the run game, and we'll see who else Tennessee can add in the transfer portal to make that happen. But I think that's the fascinating part is if you're not as good at quarterback, what are you better at that you weren't this year in order to take that next step as a program?
Will, as bizarre as this may sound, it's like the college football playoff semifinals have really snuck up on us, because that is this weekend, of course, coming up tomorrow. Can you see an upset in either one of those games? And yes, it is Georgia 1, Ohio State 4, although Ohio State may be the closest in terms of talent to what Georgia has. The gap seems to be bigger with Georgia compared to everyone else. Do we see an upset in either one of those games tomorrow?
I think we could. I mean, I've certainly got my eye on that Georgia-Ohio State game specifically, just because Ohio State's done that before, right, to an SEC team in Alabama when Zeke Elliott last night
I was
Cowboys was still playing in college. That's right. I think that's a really interesting matchup. But the thing about it is, stylistically, if Michigan's downhill run game is too much for Ohio State to stop, then wait till they see Georgia.
Wow.
I mean, that Georgia offensive line, I think, is chomping at the bit to get that Ohio State defensive front. And then on the other side of things, can Max Duggan continue to carry TCU further forward in this kind of storybook season? I really don't think that is as interesting of a matchup to me. Personally, I just think Michigan is such a well-oiled machine at this point in what they do that, if TCU hangs around late in that game, you give them a shot because they know how to come back from double digits in the second half. And it's the never say die attitude for Sonny Dykes' team that has really allowed them to get to this point. But can Ohio State kind of get themselves awake enough after that Michigan game and learn from what they did for a second straight year against the Wolverines and take that next step? I don't think they can, but if C.J. Stroud gets hot and Stetson Bennett does what he did in the SEC championship game last year and makes a couple mistakes, who knows, right? Ohio State is talented enough to hang with Georgia, but are they talented enough up front to stop what Georgia wants to do on offense? I don't think they are. But at the end of the day, I mean, Ohio State's got as many 5-stars as anybody in college football. So when you have that much talent, all bets are off in any given matchup.
Will Bolling, presented by Brentwood Hearing Center and Superbook Sports, who is covering the Orange Bowl for us throughout the day today. You'll be able to hear him multiple times. And, of course, the Vol Network coverage begins at 5 o'clock. Will, 2 words as we let you go for this year of 2022. Stay hydrated.
Yes. Thank you very much.
He's on pina coladas. He'll be all right.
Yeah.
We'll be good.
Yeah. Are you going to something a little more than pina coladas? That's just the appetizer for today?
Yeah, that was kind of the breakfast drink this morning, the breakfast cocktail. Just kind of get us moving a little bit, just kind of get us up and around. So, from there, we'll see. I'm going to probably check out a little Cuban spot down the road, a little hole in the wall.
Oh, that's
Nice.
cool.
Be careful with the Cuban coffee. There's a reason why.
You're going to be jittering all day.
There's a reason why that's in really small mugs.
Throughout football season, guys, I didn't know how much caffeine was in Celsius. No free shout-outs. But I would drink 2 of those a day in football season for Fridays, for high school football days. So I would like to think that nothing can get me jittery at this point.
Go get one.
Having moved to the morning schedule, but we'll see.
We done told you. We done told you.
Yeah, we'll go do it and then check in with 3HO later today and tell us how it's working
Ron's
out.
disappointed with you in the
up.
chat. He said you needed to have 2 mimosas by now.
Come on.
No.
Slay, you know what it is.
I'm sorry, Will. This is what Ron said in the chat. See, they should have sent me. I would have been fried already.
There has to be a healthy mix on the bar graph of entertainment and fun, and also responsibility in order to make it to my hit on his show later this afternoon.
Yes.
So
we
will see. I don't think Buck has time for me, so I think you'll next year for me for Blaine and Mickey.
Buck said he just doesn't want you on.
That's all right. We don't have time for Buck. It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly. So maybe I'll just go to Lucas since it's his show and see if he can possibly help me out.
All right. 4 words. Stay hydrated. Pace yourself. Should be good to go.
Look, we have to understand that Buck is still coming down from the high of being on
I'm just going to cut his mic off, dude. He just talks and talks and talks, man, doesn't he?
He just cut his mic off?
to talk about that and everything.
Still go.
So, that's all right. We'll make it.
Will, appreciate it. Enjoy the game tonight, okay?
Later, guys.
I just thought he cut his mic off.
Will Bolling is presented by Brentwood Hearing Center and Superbook Sports. Sometimes when Bert talks to us, it goes to all of our ears, so we didn't know what was going on there.
I just say what's on my mind, what I hear.
You had drug face when you said that.
At this
That was
point,
fantastic.
I'm so tired. I'm like, I'm about to go face plant down on the computer.
If Will had kids, he definitely would be like 2 or 3 in. If he was away on
for sure.
Yeah, he just doesn't have any responsibilities but himself,
Yeah.
so he's still be responsible.
Yeah.
Such a joy kill. We wrap up our 2022 next. Ramon, Kayla, and Will with only Kayla in. Everybody else is out here on 104.5.
Well, one of the things I love about betting on the NFL is that you can always find some players or game props and combine all of those bets. What's cool about FanDuel Sportsbook, that's what you can do in the same game, and then you can score an even bigger payout, which is one of the reasons I bet with FanDuel. Another reason is because they have odds boosts and specials every day. I'm looking at the app right now. They have them for almost every single event and some big super boost every weekend around some of the biggest matchups as well. Now, there is no feeling like nailing a same-game parlay. Lock in your bet today on FanDuel Sportsbook. And if you're new, sign up with promo code DAWN for your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's promo code DAWN so you can make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Got to be 21 and older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable free bets. Expire 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. Terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem. Tennessee Redline 1-800-889-9789.
Final segment of Ramon, Kayla, and Will for 2022 on 104.5 The Zone. As always, Ramon, Kayla, and Will powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. When trust matters, count on All Four Seasons Garage Doors in Nashville. Feels like we've had all 4 seasons in a week. Professional garage door installation and repair from a locally owned and family-run business. Visit allfourseasonsgarages.com/Nashville. Want to thank Mike Keith and also Will Bolling for joining us on the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline. And as always, you can interact with us if you so choose at Ramon Kayla and Will, at Ramon Kayla Will, Jonathan Schaefer, Keith Bulluck, and also Kayla Anderson. And everyone, final thoughts as we round out 2022. Titans from yesterday heading into a win and in game next week, whether it be on Saturday or Sunday, we'll find out here in the upcoming days. But Titans, at least, I think with Josh Dobbs at quarterback, giving themselves a better chance.
Yeah, my final thought on that is I like the way that the team showed up, the guys that got the opportunity to go out there to play, the guys that wouldn't normally be in that position, that made some plays, the guys that will be in that position again next week, to build on. And look, I've never seen a team on an 0-6 skid going into the next week for a championship game to play into the playoffs.
The AFC South, baby.
Hey, yo, take the South. Let's do it. Let them hang again, Titans, You know
what? 6 straight losses. That happened in 2022, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to be 2023.
Hey, I like that.
It's the new year.
I like
You
it.
got new, fresh bodies back, hopefully. And why not just go into it like you have? I mean, it's on the line, sure, but what do you got to lose at this point? You've lost 6 straight.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, let's do it.
And again, if they beat Jacksonville and get in,
they get a home game, huh?
That's what's
it's a
nuts.
home game. That's what's insane about it.
You get to host a home game with a losing record.
But here's the thing,
Good
too.
for them.
Depending upon how this shakes out, because you've got teams there. I think you're looking at the Chargers. That may be a team that you're looking at.
Yeah.
At that
but
point,
a Chargers
bring
team
'em on.
that you played, I don't think the matchups are bad.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, if they catch Cincinnati, it might be a little different. But
that's the thing. If Cincinnati wins the division, you're catching probably Baltimore or the Chargers.
Yeah, you got them. I'd be surprised if Lamar Jackson comes back out there this year, because the way I'm thinking is like, all right, they didn't pay me midway through the season. They didn't pay me in the beginning of the season. I left y'all with one of the best records in the NFL. And you know what? I'm going to just sit this one out and see what y'all do without me out there, because he's putting his career in jeopardy by going out there. Now you're hearing people say he's about to be possibly a free agent quarterback. Look, if I'm Lamar, I'm sitting my butt down.
Yeah.
You got to get Lamar on speed dial here.
I'll be on the sidelines, though, rooting on my teammates.
Yeah.
But I ain't going out there.
There you go, Bully.
But if you were Lamar, you would have signed an agent at some point and gotten this done.
Yeah, for sure. I would have signed my brother. No, probably not. But no, I would have definitely had, you could do a lawyer, Edgerrin James.
Yeah.
He never had an agent. He had a lawyer when it came down to signing his deals. Or what you can do is hire an agent for that deal, because any agent would love to be like, oh, I helped Lamar Jackson get his deal. I'm not his agent, but I negotiated his deal. There's many ways around that.
Yep.
Who all do we think's coming back next week? Of course, Derek's going to be there. We think Autry's going to be there.
I think Derek, Autry, Christian Fulton, Amani Hooker. Who else did I miss here?
Could David Long be back? Big Jeff, of course.
I don't know if David will be back for that game, but if they make it to the playoffs, I think he's back.
NPF?
MPF could possibly be back.
I think I got a lot of hope.
No.
That's
my gut.
That's the storyline next week.
That's
Is
my gut.
monitoring.
I think Autry's coming back. Derrick Henry's coming back. Big Jeff is coming back.
And
Amani and Christian practiced last week.
Maybe the tackle. All right.
Yeah.
But Amani needs to get out there. Your boy needs to get out there, because he's been missing a lot this year.
Yeah.
But when he's out there, he helps out, as y'all call him, the mayor, Kevin Byard.
Yep.
Yeah.
And, he's multifaceted in the things that he can do, his skill set that he brings to the table, and that's why he needs to be out there. But injuries has been everyone's plague this year, I guess.
One of the issues they've had, and we saw it against Dak yesterday. Now, granted, they had who they had in there yesterday in terms of a pass rush. They don't have one.
Right.
They don't have one. But Danico, Tier, Big Jeff.
Yeah.
And we saw how much it affected this team when Danico was out.
That was the
They
formula.
didn't win.
That was the formula last year.
Yes.
That was the formula this year. The D-line was fairly healthy last year.
Yes.
That's why in the playoffs they was able to kick so much butt. You know what I mean?
9 sacks.
9 sacks on
And then
Joey.
carry over to this year. And we, like you were saying, when Danico was back last week, you saw what's up.
Yeah. That's what gives me the most hope, because the offensive line, even with NPF coming back, it is what it is.
It is, yeah.
Okay. And Derek should be good to go. If they can have those 3 guys, if they can have that front ready, because you're depleted at linebackers, Zach Cunningham's out, Bud's out, although Gibbons has done a nice job, Monty's done a nice job, but if you can get Autry, Tier, and Big Jeff going, then we're talking about something.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm going to end, so this is my last time of the year. But, shout out to Josh Dobbs, man.
Yes.
Just for the simple fact that
Let's go, Dobbs.
he's finally getting an opportunity to command a squad. He's going into this week as the starter, get him to the playoffs. He led a team to the playoffs.
Heck yeah.
Bully, thank you for everything this week, my
Thanks
man.
for having me. Independent
fun.
contractor.
Kayla.
Yes.
Or as I like to say, mercenary. Kayla, thank you for everything as always.
Yeah.
Bert, even you, well, thank you too, and everything that you've done
Yeah,
for
Bert.
us.
Dropping them tunes.
No problem.
It's been quite the 2022, and let's see what the Titans can do in 2023. For all my co-hosts here, and also for Will Bolling and Ramon Foster, who are out, I'm Jonathan Schaefer, and as the big man likes to say, your Twitter fingers and your mic are always hot.
Big ass camera.